welcome back again to another episode of your favorite true crime and criminal culture podcast. My name is Brendan.
And I am Malia. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a great show.
It'll be a fun one. We are Thought Riot Podcast, and welcome. We commit to honest, intelligent, unscripted, and interesting conversation, bringing information we get and following it to wherever it leads, holding nothing back and sharing brutal honesty the entire time because we censor nothing.
And talk about everything.
All right, so since this is a show that is right before the holiday times, hang on, I pulled something up here. Right before the holidays, like a couple days before it, we're going to do a quicker show. We're going to drop some of the things that we normally do so we can get right into the topics. But I wanted to say, and we wanted to say, happy holidays to everyone. That goes for Bodhi Day, Immaculate Conception, Feast Day, Posadas, Navidenas, Hanukkah, Yule, Winter Solstice, Christmas, Zarathosht.
Hey, it was the thought that counted, right?
St. Stephen's, Hanukkah, Holy Innocents, Holy Family, Watch Night. So I wanted to hit everything. So hopefully I hit everything because crime doesn't discriminate and neither do we. So happy holidays, everybody.
Yes, happy holidays and happy New Year.
Yes.
I hope you have a wonderful holiday and you can snuggle up somewhere warm.
I think we're doing another show before New Year.
Open some presents. Yeah, we will be.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, it's all of it. Like, the New Year is only like 6 days after Christmas, so.
Yeah. True story. True story.
And the people aren't even going to see this probably until after anyway.
Yeah.
So I hope you had a great holiday.
Yeah, that. All right, so we're just going to dig right in here. So what are we talking about tonight? So these aren't in order, but one of my topics that I'm talking about tonight is going to be the Thought Rioters' biggest questions around the Idaho 4 case. And I put out a poll out there, and a bunch of people answered, and a bunch of people left comments because we asked everyone to. Leave a comment with what you would like to know the most. If you had a magic genie lamp and you could get that answered, what would it be? So I wanted to go through that, leave it kind of open-ended, talk a little bit on it, and kind of see where that goes. And I mean, there's interesting stuff there, so I definitely suggest you hang out till we go through all those. Number 2, I am going to be going through the difference between objectivity and subjectivity, and this is something that kind of got brought up on the True Crime Talk show the other night, because in general, I think people tend to associate objectivity with logic and subjectivity with emotions, which it makes sense why they're doing that, but at the same time, it's not only that. And, you know, I was thinking about some of the things that our viewers were saying on that video and that we were talking about, and with how my mind works, I just had to dig more. I wanted to see, like, scientific backing behind some of that data and things like that, to see, like, is it all objectivity that matters in an investigation, or is subjectivity just as important? So that should be a good one. I mean, I had a lot of fun researching that one. And then number 3, the insane, absolutely disgusting, horrible, gross, all the bad description words that are in a dictionary for these two people, Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt. We have some pretty shocking case updates. So,
yeah, that's gonna be a wild one. I already know it. So, tonight, what I am bringing to the show is... Recently, we were talking about, it just randomly came up in conversation on the True Crime Talk Show, our live show, where we were talking about the conditions the cops found the home in. And we particularly were focusing on the door and how I thought that Chief Fry said it was left open. And, you know, a content creator by Get a Clue, he actually posted a video showing an article about the door being open, and I just wanted to dig into that a little more and see, are there discrepancies there with the narrative and the door being left open in the PCA versus what witnesses and cops saw when they got there? Like, it just seems odd.
I have some questions already.
Yeah. Then I'm going to be covering the case of Adrian Insogna and Leslie Mazzara. I recently got suggested this by a viewer, and it's strangely similar to the Idaho 4 case in a lot of ways, and we're going to talk about it. And you know, in that case, I just had to say this, it's kind of a spoiler, but they said there were 74 pieces of evidence turned over to the lab, and they felt like that was, like, a lot. Okay.
Oh
now,
my gosh.
Moving on. My third topic I'm bringing to the show tonight is Karlie Gousset, a young girl, a teenager who went missing in Southern California in 2018, and, yeah, it's a strange one, you know, basically gets high with some friends, goes insane, and wanders off into the desert. And there's a lot of strange circumstances surrounding the family, you know, the stepmother's statements about Karlie's state of mind and what she was wearing when she disappeared. And it's a lot of weirdness and strangeness. And I've been looking at this one for a while now because it's just weird.
Yeah,
and
well, I'm
we'll get into that.
To hear about those because I don't know much about them. So,
you know
what?
You know something that reminded me of you in that case is there's a really popular video on that case of a guy riding a dirt bike with his friend through the desert in California, and they thought they found her, but they actually found a different missing girl.
Whoa, how many missing girls are out in the middle of the desert?
When you were riding your dirt bike in California, did you ever run across any people just chilling in the middle of the desert?
I mean, yeah.
Like, in weird circumstances, like they're not there with family, they're like alone without a vehicle?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have stopped.
Teenagers?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have stopped. I think the only... person I would have stopped for is probably a small child. Otherwise, I was just so obsessed with myself and what I was doing. I know that if it was anyone younger than age 12, I wouldn't have stopped. I just would have kept doing what I was doing, you know what I mean?
It makes sense, though. Yeah, I got you. It's for your own safety, too, man.
Yeah.
You never know. But yeah.
Awesome. Well... with that all laid out, we get to go directly into the Thought Riot Podcast breaking news.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. All right, so number one, this is an update to a story that we did last week. Actually, I don't know if we recorded it last week. I'm drawing a blank because we record so much content that it all kind of blends together. But
we do.
I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but it was the Coeur d'Alene, which I think I'm saying that wrong, so sorry, or Rathdrum. And we were kind of going through the cult topics and the witches and like all the folklore, weird, mysterious stuff in that area, right? And I think that video was a big success. I learned a lot from it. There were also some really concerning topics in there that was some, you know, correlating data, like the amount of missing people that come out of Idaho. And if you haven't checked it out, you guys really, 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 really need to check it out.
Yeah, because Idaho has a serious missing person problem. Like,
big time.
Like, way more than anywhere else in America.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Other than Arizona. But yeah. Yep.
It's weird.
It is. It is very, 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 very strange. And one of the details to the cult theories, the witches, the Satanists, the racists, all the ists in that area is that, you know, they use people as sacrifices, whether they're Odinist sacrifices or they're witch blood sacrifices or sacrifices to Satan. Like, I feel like all of them lead back to sacrifice, you know what I mean? Human sacrifice. So when I went looking into it and I see all these missing people, I'm like, oh, wait. What?
Well, you know, Nordic people like the Vikings, they did used to do human sacrifices.
Yeah, by willing participants.
Yeah.
The one that was being sacrificed, they had to agree to it.
It was honorable.
It was.
They wanted to.
So the Vikings were not going out there and grabbing
Stealing
people
yeah.
and then ending them. The person literally submitted to it.
Don't you think people nowadays don't have enough belief in things to volunteer for something like that, though?
In America, yes.
Yeah.
I think in America, yes. But, I mean, if I'm one of those people where... Why?
Oh, yeah, me too. Never.
Why? I
never.
haven't seen any hard evidence that suggests that doing something like that is beneficial for your overall soul, right? If there is another afterlife after this, depending on what you believe, that's why I'm saying it like that. Like, if you're somebody who believes there is, no matter what your religion is, then, like, I would need to see evidence of that to be able to submit my life, you know what I mean, to doing something like that. So, but yeah, I agree with you.
You know something the Nords really were onto? Cold plunge. Like, I have been learning a lot about cold plunges lately. I know, that's what I'm saying. They were onto something, man. Because I had no idea the health benefits from cold showers and cold plunges. Like, no idea. Increasing blood flow to all of your extremities.
Not only that, the best thing to do it is the morning cold plunge and then the sauna. So if you use cold plunge sauna, it builds that elasticity in your blood, and it has, like, a ton of benefits. A ton.
I hate cold water. I won't do it.
I don't care.
I think I might start doing it just to test it.
I will die 10 years earlier. So if you guys don't know, like, I have one fear, and that fear is cold water. Like, that's it. I don't like it. It's not happening.
I'm curious, is the cold plunge necessary, or is just a cold shower enough? Like, is there a degree where it's like, you're at max limit? Like, if it gets any colder, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's doing the maximum benefits it can.
I have no idea.
Like, I don't know if I need to get in an ice bath.
I
like,
hate cold water way more than most people do. So, you know, and I lived on the Pacific, and I went in it all the time. But I got to tell you that, like, you know, in like surf class, surf time, friends at the beach, all this stuff, no matter the time of the year, Pacific's always cold.
It's freezing.
Always. And all my friends would be jumping in because they're like, dude, I know it's cold, but just get in it quick, you know, just get through it. I can't. Not happening. Give me 30 minutes. Like, leave me alone. Let me just slowly get into this thing. I despise it. Anyways, we're getting way off track here. So, going back to the Coeur d'Alene and Rathdrum topic that we covered either last week or the week before. So, one of the things that we wondered, and why I'm even bringing this up into a breaking news update, is you had asked, is there any way that they're hallucinating, like the witch trials in, what was that, 17 or 1800s or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And, you know, both of us came to the conclusion that no, there's no way that's happening. Not with, like, how food is handled nowadays and all this stuff. And then I also asked the question and said, isn't it weird how a lot of times we have a lot of supernatural stuff and topics like this surrounding mineral deposits like gold and silver, I think cobalt is one, I don't know, but all of them, there tends to be like talk of aliens, all this stuff, man. Well, one of our commenters, and I'm not going to say the name only because I'll say RH, okay? RH8442. They didn't tell me it was okay to say their name, so I don't know if it's okay. I just would rather, not put someone's name on blast like that. But RH8442, I appreciate you for bringing this up. I had no idea, and it caused me to go looking. But he says, the vast area of mining produced large amounts of tailings. Tailings are the remaining material after extraction of the specific ore being mined for. They often include mercury, arsenic, lead, radioactive, and multiple toxic compounds. Skip the mold and consider the tailings as an issue to both health and mental health issues.
Well, okay, so I do know, because I love makeup, that when you get cheap forms of talc is something that's mined for, that it can be, basically talc forms in the earth and like there's asbestos all around it. Which is why there was the lawsuits over Johnson & Johnson baby powder, because they weren't sifting through it. They weren't processing it enough and making sure they weren't including asbestos with their talc and their baby powder. And asbestos is highly carcinogenic to humans, highly toxic, causes cancer. And there's been multiple lawsuits for makeup, little kids' makeup, where there's been asbestos in it. So I do know that certain minerals and ores and stuff have these like other minerals and like other things that form with them for some reason.
And that is interesting. And that whole story is interesting. And it's just drama all the way through that story and lawsuit and everything. I just don't think that applies here because tailings is like some of the chemicals that are being used to extract these. Like this was a silver ore and a gold ore. These were fine minerals that they were mining out.
They're using those things to extract it.
Correct. And that's why they're called tailings, I assume. I didn't get the definition, but when I hear tailings, I'm thinking like the tail end left over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm making an assumption
like the runoff.
Here. Yep. And so that has now seeped into the ground and is used to get some of these things out, or were, depending on what they were getting out there. And the definition is tailings are likely to be a dangerous source of toxic chemicals such as heavy metals, sulfides, and radioactive content. These chemicals are especially dangerous when stored in water, in ponds, behind tailing dams, and in public water sources. There are lakes all over up there. Yeah. So it makes me wonder, like, could there have been a major release during the 60s and 70s in their water sources in that area, and this sparked all this cult, and it just happened to come out right around the Satanic Panic, and it has just been these stories that are continuing? Makes you wonder. I think that's a very non-tin hat way of looking at a possible reasoning for these stories. Now, that doesn't add or suggest any reasoning for the insane amount of missing people, but like that's another good theory. Yeah. I like that theory as a mainstream theory.
No, I think that is a great theory. I think it's fantastic. It makes a ton of sense. It's terrifying because honestly, a lot of us around the country, we don't know a lot of times what's in our water, and we do not get told what's in our water. Like, usually, no matter where you live in America, there's some kind of factory, there's some kind of mining going on, and it goes in the earth, and it goes in our water, and we don't even know. Nobody tells us those things. It's horrible.
They need to take, like, a a major block of land, like somewhere in the middle of America, like I'm talking massive, like half the size of a state, and put all of our factories and all of those things in this one major area, and then build out like major cities around it, and so that it's localized,
you know,
and not just random spots, because random spots can get hit easier. That's what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also I think it almost should be a part of building code that there has to be a reverse osmosis filter or something very similar attached to the main water line of every home. That would fix all problems. The main water line. Like, we have a filter attached to our heating and cooling, and, you know, there's filters in houses. Why can't we make it a part of building code? Because also there's old lead pipes in a lot of towns across America. You have Flint, Michigan. Reverse osmosis literally gets down to the molecules of the water and removes everything, to the point that if you only drink reverse osmosis water, it depletes your body of minerals.
Yeah, but it's safe.
But it's safe, safer than toxins. And you can always, you know, add mineral, like, tablets to your water. I would suggest anybody and everybody take a water testing kit and test your home water.
Yeah.
At least every year.
Absolutely. But I agree. I think it's way more important than we even give it credit for. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think this is a possibility for that area? I know a lot of our viewers believe there is some serious illegal activity going on, whether it's cult-related, satanic-related, racism, or that one church. Like, most of our community thinks something's going on, and I want to know what you guys think about that, how you feel about it, and if we think that is a possibility. Could this Rathdrum tailings be getting into some of the water sources and or lake in Coeur d'Alene that's literally right there, like 5-minute drive from my understanding? I haven't been there, but...
And there could be seriously illegal cult stuff going on, and it could also, at the same time, be because of the water supply.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, we recently just got a filing. Well, a few filings. We had the filing that was the official... you know, rejection, denying of Brian Kohberger's motion to dismiss the case based off of the grand jury's improper instructions. You know, we already had a ruling on this. The ruling was already there. That's nothing new. He just said, the judge said he was going to follow up with a written order, right?
Yep.
That was done, like, what month was that? It's been, like, months since that ruling was made in court. And he just finally followed up. And then we saw a scheduling order. Like, right
from
after
the
this.
prosecution.
And in between those two filings, we saw an official date for the demolition of the home for December 28th. Right now it's December 22nd when we're recording this. You guys are going to be seeing this after, but I want to know what you guys think about the house being demolished, or if they cancel it. Like, if you're seeing this after the fact, come tell past me what you think about that. Like, how it ends up turning out, because I'm super curious how this is going to turn out. If they're going to last minute delay it, or if they're going to demolish it.
I think they're demolishing it.
It's interesting. We have this it's like things all of a sudden just started moving.
Yeah.
It was like a dead stop. Still waters, nothing. And then we're demolishing the home. Here's your follow-up about why we denied your order to dismiss or motion to dismiss. And then...
You know what's coming up, right?
Huh.
Springtime student whatever, where new students are signing up for the college, and I bet you anything their numbers are down, and Green is like, oh shoot, and I don't want to be unfair here. Is there a lot of weird stuff that he's done? Absolutely. I have some major weird questions why, you know, that family only gave to one of the victims and not others. There's a lot of things. But I think that his initial reaction was genuine. He was up on the stand like during one of those first
press conferences
crying, you know. And I do think it's genuine, but people need to understand that like humans move forward. We're never stagnant. We're either moving forward or falling backwards, and it's one or the other. His number one priority is that school. Period. Number one. And what is the one thing that keeps that running? Money over everything, okay? Even if there's drops in students, as long as there's the financial aspect there to keep it running, they can keep it running. That is the most important thing, and I don't even fault him for that. But taking that into account, he is going to make the decisions that are best for that school's pockets. And again, I don't fault him for it necessarily. It depends on... I'll fault him depending on how important that is. If that the financial aspects are more important than lives, someone's livelihood, then we have problems. But, you know, I wouldn't expect anything less than a huge importance on finances. So.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and I think that is the most important thing to Scott Green and a lot of the officials in Moscow, Idaho. But this was filed yesterday, December 21st, by Ashley Jennings, this motion for scheduling order. And in it, they basically say they want to have a summer trial. That way that the students aren't, like high school students and college students aren't in session. And this will alleviate concerns over parking, pedestrian safety, and the local high school is right next to the courthouse. Also, it would free up hotel rooms for people visiting town during the proceedings. But, and it also, like, you know, was talking about all the pretrial deadlines, like, you know, all of the things they need to get done to get this going.
Yeah.
Like jury, all that stuff. All the deadlines for all of those things, including, you know, discovery, expert disclosures, witness list, pretrial motions. Witness lists.
Yeah, and a lot of people took what I was saying wrong the other night, too, with the financial aspect, saying that I think they want to tear down the house because it's all about money. And I think a lot of people are overlooking the point that there are multiple demographics that Scott Green is having to be concerned with.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
the student body base or signups can be down because the Greek life hate that house there. Hate it, okay? So if you have somebody that is has a lineage of being in Sigma Chi, okay, and they already know they're gonna get into the fraternity, and because that house is there, because the additional attention in that area, all that stuff, they have friends that are like, yo, don't go to college here. I'm transferring. I'm leaving. I'm going to Boise or whatever like that. He has to do what's best for the majority of the current student body base and what's best for the town. So I think that you can have multiple different directions of ways to go in that, right? Because a college is still making money on the students when they're away on break. But by clearing up space for out-of-towners to come in, you're making extra room for more people to come in and put more money in your town.
So here's a thought I had. You know, do you think it's weird that the house was gifted to the president, the university, by the owner, the LLC?
I don't, but I understand how taxes work.
Okay, I don't think it's about taxes. What I think it's about is that in several true crime cases that I've looked at, and this is what sparked this thought, there have been situations like we talked about in Florida fires. The mother sued the house owner over fire alarms. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, there's also issues, even with stabbings, where somebody broke in, where people, victims' families, will try to sue landlords.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, Was there something wrong with the home?
I mean, there was. The back lock.
Yeah. Was there something wrong with the home? Maybe even more than the back lock. Who knows? Where he was like, ooh, I'm just going to give this to you. Scott Green, I will give you this piece of property as long as you tear it down and get it out of my name, and I don't want nothing to do with it.
Maybe.
So I can't get sued. You promise to tear it down so nobody finds out this thing that's wrong with it.
I think people put a lot of emphasis on being sued, but when you're a business, you have insurance for that. So I don't think being sued is as big of a deal as people try and make it seem.
Yeah.
Because your insurance covers that. It doesn't affect you personally. So when it comes to the house, I don't think anyone would just give a house away. That's not happening. What they got to do is they were able to write off an entire year's worth of rent and the current value of the home.
Okay. Well, I didn't even think about that. Okay. I didn't know that about taxes. So, another interesting thing, moving on from, that, is that the prosecution, which we didn't even get into this on stream when we were going over this document, but we can here and now, the prosecution also asked the judge not to extend Kohberger's deadline for providing his alibi. The state submits that the defendant has already been afforded this opportunity, and the court heard argument on the motions relating to such.
Wait, they're trying to stop him from giving an alibi?
Yeah. The state submits the opportunity for the defendant to disclose an alibi and notify the state of the same has passed, and asks that the court not reopen this issue.
That means that there's something there. Otherwise, I don't think they would bring it up.
So...
That's so messed up, dude.
My thoughts are, I get they're playing, that's a little dirty, just because if...
Super dirty.
Kohberger if he is innocent, okay, he may not have provided his alibi for several factors, which can include, expecting to have a witness and them not. Not being able to get a hold of them, not being able to find them, or many other things. I've heard lawyers talk about this before, what could cause that, and later, the lawyer talked about it, and how later, if Kohberger were to come to the judge and say, I have a witness for my alibi, I have proof of my alibi, that if the judge were not to accept that, even if it was way past the deadline, that he, in the interest of justice, he should absolutely take it, or else that sets up that. Well, it's at the judge's discretion.
Yeah, I don't agree.
He doesn't have to, but if he doesn't take the alibi, then he is a shoo-in to get exonerated later in an appeal.
That's exactly my point. He literally has to. Okay, sure, you can make the decision and say that we're not going to hear your alibi, but you don't have an option. You are going to make your entire career look bad. Your own judgment is going to be brought into question here. And here's the thing too, and I don't want to get too far. I know this is just a breaking news update on one of the cases, but so the prosecution has been suffocating the defense. And I'm not trying to say they're doing anything illegal. When I say that somebody's doing something wrong, it doesn't mean that it's illegal. Those are two different things. There's morally wrong, and then, and morally wrong, in my opinion, still can be within the bounds of the law. But everywhere the defense goes, the prosecution follows every single time. And it looks like, in my opinion, that they're checking up on their work. They're preventing the defense from mounting a good defense. I've seen it in court already. I've seen it outside of court. When they went into the house, the prosecution followed right after. If you don't think that's not to try and figure out what they were looking at to see if there were any marks on there, I mean, honestly, if I was the the defense, I would be trying to I would bring in one of those devices that you can buy on Amazon for $150 that picks up any electronic signals. I would have brought it with me to make sure there's no cameras or anything like that with how hard the state is going.
Also, the FBI, Bill Thompson asking the FBI to go talk to Vargas after she testified.
Yeah, absolutely. And, but within that, I think that, wait, what were we just talking about?
Are you for real?
Yeah.
That the state keeps following a defense, trying to prevent them from mounting a good defense.
Yeah. But the original point, I was trying to make a point, and I don't remember what it was. Okay,
well, I was just talking about how they were stopping him from giving his alibi.
Yeah.
And you're saying the judge has to.
Yeah. I just think the judge does have to. I think that all we've seen is the prosecution suffocating them. And in my opinion, what Kohberger was trying to do is prevent them from stopping that information from coming forward. And I thought that from the beginning, and I bet you can even go back to some of our live streams, and we were even talking about that, where Kohberger probably isn't giving his alibi like very specific details, because if I were him and if I'm truly innocent, I'm not saying he's truly innocent, I'm just saying in this theory I'm looking at it from the perspective of him being innocent. Let's say I'm Kohberger and I'm innocent, and I don't trust the police and investigators because I'm seeing shady stuff happen, because I know I wasn't there, but they're saying I was, and they're saying there's evidence there when I know I wasn't there. Do you think I would openly come forward and be like, oh yeah, here's my alibi, here's all the details, we just haven't been able to get a hold of this person and this person yet? No way, dude. I wouldn't have gave that, because then I would be worried that the police are going to go talk to him first and stop that from happening.
They're going to go either backfill or
intervene. Yeah. And I wouldn't let that happen if I was him.
But I see what you're saying. But yeah, it's interesting. We have this trial, this death penalty certified trial coming this summer. This seems pretty official to me. This feels like the ball is actually in motion this time.
I sure hope so.
And I mean, it seems like they're planning everything. Whether you think it's weird that they're planning it in the summer for parking and hotels, so there's plenty of space for everyone, or not.
I do think it's weird. But look, everything revolves around money. You can care about someone and you can still care about money. Like, a lot of people have this or that idea, and I don't see a problem, but to pretend like they're not doing it to maximize the amount of people and income coming into the area, like, I just feel like someone that doesn't see that doesn't have a good understanding of business.
I can see it, but I feel like I just need a little bit more showing that. I just need a little bit more.
I mean, all you got to do is look at what is the gain in having a lot of people come there, and what's the cons. What's the gain of having minimal people come there, and what's the cons? Everybody in the world's going to see it. Whether you have 10 people come or 50 people come or 500 people come, everyone in the world's going to see it because of these right here.
True.
So might as well maximize the income.
Yeah. But anyway, I want to know what you guys think, about this filing, about it being this summer. I had a feeling it was going to be in 2024. I just kind of knew it was going to be. And everybody was saying, oh, it could be years. Never waived it. And I'm like, I don't think so, man. I'm pretty sure this is coming in 2024. And I was right, as always. Just kidding. I'm not always right. But
I'm never right.
Yeah, I want to know what you guys think about it.
All right. So, number 2 for our breaking news.
This is number 3.
This is my number 2 for our breaking news. So we covered Brianna Jai. It was either 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, not really sure, again, with how much content we cover. But Brianna Jai was, on February 11th, 2023, 16-year-old was fatally stabbed 28 times between the head, back, neck, chest, in broad daylight at a local park in England, in Linear Park in Colchester, a village outside of Warrington in northwest England. Now, we went into all the details on this video here, so I suggest you guys check it out, but we were talking about, I think it was, gosh, I should have wrote down what they were calling them, but in that country, they don't talk about the suspects' names when they're under 18, and these two kids were under 18, and I think they called them, like suspect X and suspect Y or something like that.
Yeah, it's a boy and a girl.
Yep, a boy and a girl.
And the girl was like into like Satanism or something.
I mean, just sociopathy, like into watching Red Room type stuff of people getting hurt, dude. And maybe the boy was too. You never know if what the defendant's statements are in court are true because they're trying to save themselves.
He was trying to save himself.
Absolutely, trying to put all the blame on her. But here's the thing. You were there and you actually gave the plan, the boy did. He suggested how they do it. So, like, culpability, you guys are both guilty, okay?
Absolutely.
Well, the trial was going on when we covered it, and it wasn't looking too good for the defendants. Well, the update is the defendants were convicted. They were found guilty, both of them, which I'm glad. I'm really glad. I think they both deserve guilt. They both deserve to be convicted, and they're both looking at potential life sentences. Now, one thing to remember, though, is in other areas of the world, life sentences mean different things. In the U.S., a life sentence is usually 25 years plus, okay? 25 to life is a life sentence. Well, we've seen in places like Germany where a dude got a life sentence and got like 8 years, you know what I mean? So I haven't heard what the amount of time is they're looking at yet. I don't know if they're going to take into consideration that they both had some kind of mental aspects to them before with social anxieties, and I think he was on the spectrum, and she... I just don't want to offend anybody, but like the things she was saying, and I don't know enough about it, it just sounded weird to me, is supposedly the doctor said she showed signs of having symptoms of a spectrum disorder, but not saying that she actually had a spectrum disorder. I don't understand that. If you do, help me understand that. But to me, it sounds like they're trying to stage a defense. Maybe. You know what I mean? Because the doctor was clearly comfortable coming out and saying, yes, this dude is on the spectrum. But they're like, well, not on the spectrum, but some symptoms of it, but not really on it. Yeah. Is that a thing?
Well, yeah, you can exhibit some symptoms and not be on it. But typically, I mean, it sounds like they didn't have maybe enough time with her to get a full diagnosis, maybe. And he was diagnosed pre-crime.
Maybe.
But being on the spectrum, I don't think removes any accountability because there's so many people on the spectrum that are murderers.
Oh, it doesn't remove any accountability, but they're kids too.
There's tons of people on the spectrum that are functioning, successful adults that don't kill people.
Of course. I mean, you have Elon Musk. No matter if you like him or not, he's still considered successful. He is still masterminding multiple businesses. Like, that is success in today's world, you know?
And he's not killing people.
Exactly. So I'm really happy with this outcome that they were both found guilty. Now, I don't want to overlook the fact that this was a highly political case too, because Brianna Jai was a trans kid. But when I'm looking at a case, okay, my number one goal is to look at it as objectively as I can, right? And to me, it doesn't matter if you're a man, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, it doesn't matter if you're a boy, it doesn't matter if you're a girl, it doesn't matter what you want to be. Personally, I see a human being, okay? I don't see gender, I don't see race, I don't see any of these things. I see a human being that was mistreated and abused and harmed, and that is my number one outcome. So I didn't want a whole bunch of focus on that aspect. I'll leave the politicians and activists to do that, you know? I just wanted to focus on the crime specifically. So I think we did a pretty good job with that, and I hope, I mean, please let us know if we didn't, but I'm happy with this outcome. I'm not excited, but I'm waiting to see what they are actually sentenced.
Yeah, I'm curious what they're going to be sentenced, being minors in the UK, and like you said, their life sentences are different over there. But yeah, I think this was what it should have been. I think this is justice served.
Yeah. But let us know what you think. I'll probably save this and put it out when I put that video out because I haven't yet. So I'll release this in the morning and then the video at night. So keep a lookout.
Yeah. So we covered Rachel Morin's attack and passing back when it first happened.
Yeah, a few times.
And you know, we've covered it a few times. We covered it when they found the video, the CODIS match with the DNA, and the video of the suspect in Los Angeles, not in what was it? It was Harford County. Mm-hmm. But since then, there hasn't been much, and it's kind of devastating. Like, she's a mother of 5. Her family, her mother has had, you know, she's been speaking on this. Her family has been forging ahead, trying to get leads on their own.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a tragic case, but there isn't really much here. I want to just talk about it because it's an important case. I think it's important that everybody keeps their eyes out. Like, I have an article here where they're talking about an attorney for the family saying, you know, this guy could be the guy standing next to you.
Yep.
He side stalks victims, most likely. This guy is escalating. He's probably going to be a serial killer. And everybody all over the country needs to be paying attention to who's next to you, who's around you, who is watching you. Situational awareness of your surroundings is incredibly important. You know, Rachel Morin was probably just out for a run with her headphones in, you know, like minding her own business, and then she didn't know what hit her, man. And it's a terrible, terrible, tragic situation. Since, you know, the last time we covered this, the family attorneys have sent out letters and reward flyers to 5 principals at high schools in the area of that home in Los Angeles where they obtained the video of the suspect, where he was involved in some kind of assault of a minor. We don't know the nature of the assault or what happened. But yeah, they sent flyers and, you know, a letter to each of them because it's really believed that this suspect is an LA native, that he has family across the border and probably family in other areas of the country, that he's Spanish speaking. That particular neighborhood was one of the only Hispanic neighborhoods in that area. And they're gang run for the most part. So,
yeah.
But So in addition to that, the reward has been up to $20,000. We're going to post a reward flyer on the screen. If you see something, say something. Stay aware of your surroundings. There's also been, for the holidays, some fundraising events for her kids. There was a pizza shop that held a fundraiser in November to help the family with the holidays. Rachel Morin's mom has come out and talked about how hard the holidays are and how when Rachel was alive, it was... They apparently have a huge family, like 40 people or something like that, all going to her brother's house and having a huge Christmas together, and how they're kind of split up this year, and it's hard.
Yeah, I bet. And I think that it's good that we're talking about this, even if it's just a small little tiny update in the case, because it helps it stay relevant. And, a lot of times police officers are held back from being able to continue investigating based on what's going on financially. How much money were they allowed to put into this case? And they need a break to continue investing time and money into things sometimes. So any chance we get to bring any additional light on any case is a good thing, and I agree with you. I think that this crime was absolutely horrible. I mean, she was ended with a rock. That's insane. It's awful. Leaving behind multiple kids and a boyfriend and family and all these things, and it doesn't seem like she knew him, and like you said, it probably just happened out of nowhere. And somebody that can do that when they have no connections to people is somebody that we don't have a room for in our society. So we need this guy caught.
One of Rachel's daughters is autistic too, and she doesn't, that's a whole nother thing. Autistic kids need consistency. They need the same people, the people they trust in their lives. And it's a really sad situation. And her 5 kids range from ages 8 to 18, come from 3 different fathers. They've went to go live with their fathers, and, her family for the holidays, and since her death, they've only been able to see the kids a couple times since they went to go live with their fathers, and they can't all be together for Christmas. I'm really glad that, communities came together to raise money for the kids, though. I wish I had covered this a bit sooner so I could put those out there, but I know there's GoFundMes and things like that for their family, and if you feel the calling to help, and you can, and it's within your means, I absolutely think you should. This is a good cause. This goes towards, her kids. But another thing that's happened is they installed cameras on the Mampah hiking trail along the secluded areas. It extends about 2 miles. There's multi-sensor cameras at 26 locations with fiber cables. They installed a conduit with a power infrastructure. It sounds like it almost works on its own. But it all gets backed up and saved, and then it gets, the officials who need it can look at it. Yeah, and I'm glad that they did that. Really glad. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, keep an eye out. Stay aware.
Yep, I wanted to say that anybody who has information or would like to talk, because her family and the cops absolutely believe that people know who this guy is, and they're probably his family members, and they're not saying anything for a reason. A lot of people really, really believe that. But if you see something, say something, like I said before. And if you have any information in this case about this suspect or Rachel Morin's murder, please contact Harford County Sheriff's Office at 410-836-7788 or their email, which is rmtips@harfordsheriff.org.
All right. Yes, any help you can give. All right, so moving on here. In December of 2018, Joy Frances Collins was arrested in Fresno, California, and charged with child abuse after... This is awful. After she told her 8-year-old daughter to crawl under a train, a parked train, okay, so they could catch the bus on the other side of the tracks. Well, the train started moving.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Her daughter was dragged 500 feet and is no longer with us. Her daughter's name was Joyanna Harris, and she passed just moments after the train started moving. Oh, it's awful. And so she was just sentenced in October, and this story is just now breaking a little bit. And get this. So this Joy Frances Collins, in my opinion, didn't get enough. A life was lost here, and she only got 6 years. 6 years.
Ugh.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I do not feel like that's enough. And what's even worse is it's 6 years with credit for time served.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so she has like 3 more years. This is just gnarly. This was her parent. This is wild. When I saw this, I had to talk about it because I don't think it's fair. I feel like we have cases where you see people that are getting overcharged in situations, and then you see cases like this where somebody's getting undercharged. Now, she had 2 kids with her, a 9-year-old boy and then her 8-year-old daughter, and they were trying to get to the bus on the other side of the train. Like, why you wouldn't just wait or go through the train from the top? I don't know, but... Her son went under first and made it, and the train started moving like as he was coming out, and he got a little scraped up, but the daughter got caught and drug, and it was just an absolutely awful scene. And I go back to, what kind of parent would ever suggest that? And she was suggesting, it's not like they ran away from her. She was like, hurry up. Hurry up. And then she only gets 6 years with time served.
I get that's a really, really bad mistake to make, but part of me wonders if, I doubt she wanted her daughter to get hurt.
That's not what it's about.
But I understand that. But at the same time, she made a decision that resulted in a really dumb, reckless, negligent decision that resulted in her daughter's horrible death. But she lost her daughter. That's a huge consequence. That's a huge source of accountability. She is no longer here, and you had to watch it, and it's your fault.
Yeah.
So... At the same time, is she a danger to the public where she needs to be put away for a really long time? I don't know.
Yeah, but there's still accountability in my opinion because, look, if you break down all the nuance in any situation, an 8-year-old, your 8-year-old that you are charged with taking care of, you made a decision that killed that 8-year-old. Is it different? Intent, in my opinion, doesn't matter there. It doesn't matter. What if...
There's different classifications in the legal system that are based off of intent.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I know there's different, murder 1, manslaughter, whatever. I get it. But do we really live in a society where we can have parents be this negligent, where you lose an 8-year-old daughter and you're getting 6 years with time served for the 3 years prior since trial? Like, she's going to be out in just a couple years. It doesn't sound fair to me. We need to be protecting our kids. This is the same kind of topic. Like, do I relate to her emotionally? Like, I understand how she's probably hurting, and this really sucks, and there is some life accountability there. But do we really want to live in a society where we can have, like, abuse of kids? Okay, we've covered this topic quite a bit, where it's like sexual in nature or physical, and the time that they get in their conviction is not enough. And then a situation where an adult made a decision for an 8-year-old and put them in harm's way, essentially put them in front of, you might as well have her try and run across the highway, like the 10 freeway in California with like 8 lanes, like that. You might as well just have her try and run across that, dude. To me, that shouldn't be taken into account. A life was lost. A life was lost, and it can't come back. It's not like you made a decision that caused someone trauma. They can go to therapy and work really hard and learn how to manage that trauma and get on with it and go through their life. No. A life was lost, and that can't ever be resolved, fixed, worked on, changed, anything like that.
I understand that. I just think that maybe the judge in this situation weighed the burden on the legal system with the benefit to society, and is she a danger to society at large? No, probably not. I would imagine she would not, even when she gets out, she's not just going to get her kid back, the one who survived. I'm sure she's going to have to jump through a lot of hoops to even be able to see him. And I'm just wondering, I'm trying to think why he made that decision.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just know that the image it gives is really crappy, and it makes me feel really negative about that justice system in that area, because in my opinion, kids need to be the one things that we do protect more than adults. You know, what if she put an adult in harm's way? A manslaughter charge is probably going to have more time than this. It doesn't feel fair to me. It doesn't feel fair in any way, shape,
like
or form.
Like a DUI?
Yeah, something like that.
Where you kill somebody?
Yeah, it just doesn't feel fair. I don't feel like that our kids' laws and sentencing and the accountability around that match the nature of the crime. And I see it a lot, and it's a problem, and it makes me want to bring these topics up and talk about them because, one downside to us humans, all humans, is we're so short-sighted. We have such a short memory, and we're not very good about planning for the future success of humans. We very easily get caught up in our own, life bubble and don't see outside that. But like the kids is the continuation of the human race. Don't you want your family, your kids to be able to, remember you, raise successful people, and create some amazing, life-changing stuff for humanity to continue to grow? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like a DUI death is it can be extended to like 14 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But
it just doesn't feel fair, and I wanted to talk about it because
it does seem short. It does seem on the shorter side, and I wonder why. I wonder if some circumstances within the courtroom pulled on the judge's heartstrings. I don't know. But I agree with you. Children are absolutely that's above all. Yep. Children are above all. They can't protect themselves, so adults and society need to be able to protect them. They need to be our priority because they are literally helpless.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, that's a super sad situation.
It is a sad situation, and it doesn't change the fact that I feel like, every decision we make is an example for another person too.
Yeah.
So
it is.
I'm gonna do my best not to get subjective when I look at this case and feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what that mom must be going through. I try really hard to stay outside of that, where I don't care what that mom is going through, because that happened already. There is nothing we can do to change the past, but we can change the future. We can handle this situation in a way that other parents see this and are like, ooh, do you remember that mom got like 25 years? Maybe I need to triple check my decisions I'm making and the situations I'm putting my kids in. Every decision is an example, and my goal is prevention.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious what you guys think, though. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like, you know, the circumstances of this and the mom having to live with herself is accountability, and this sentence was fair, or do you feel like it should have been harsher?
Well, I think her having to live with it is, by all means, worse. If she's a normal human with feelings, is way worse than a prison sentence, but the prison sentence still matters a lot. It still matters for society and her accountability still.
Yeah, it's an example, you know?
Yeah.
So, but let me know what you think.
So last week, do you remember I talked about the teenager Alex Batty from the UK who went missing on vacation in Spain in 2017?
I do remember that. Yep, how he just showed up on a street or whatever.
Yeah, just walking in the rain. A guy picks him up and he says, "What's your name?" And he says, "I'm Alex Batty." And for some reason, this guy decides to Google him and is like, "Oh my gosh, you're the missing teenager," and takes him to the police station.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's weird. And they said they couldn't find his mom or grandfather who he disappeared on holiday with. And we're like, well, how does he not know where they are?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, this is weird.
It is and was.
Well, he did a sit-down interview since we talked about it.
Okay.
And basically, he went with his mother and grandfather, and he was unhappy. I guess he, I don't know. It's kind of hard to understand because I didn't get to watch it. I've only read the article about it. And it's just a little hard to understand.
Okay.
So they say that he disappeared while in Spain, okay? And in this interview, he chose to leave his mother and father because he was fed up with them drifting around Europe. And I heard something about he was mad about them moving to Finland, which is why I'm confused. But anyway, just forget that part. But he was fed up being with them and them just drifting him all over, you know, Europe. And so he decided, I'm just going to leave. I'm going to run away. He said he realized it wasn't a great future. It wasn't a great life to live for him. He said he was moving around nonstop, no friends, no social life, constantly working. And that's what he felt like it was going to continue to be if he stayed with his mom. And his mom was also like anti-vax and like kind of anti-government. And he didn't like that, which I found
good for him then if he didn't want to be a part of that crime, because what they were doing was criminal. So I just want to be clear about that. Like, what was going on with him, that was a crime.
Well, yeah, because he wasn't under their guardianship. Like, he wasn't in their custody.
They abducted him.
And they abducted him. And
he went willing, it sounds like. So, but still, legally, they abducted him.
Yes. Yep. He was a minor. Like, you can't just take off with somebody who's, you know, not in your custody and not bring them back. But I guess his mother's catchphrase was like, "Don't become a slave to the system," or something like that.
Okay.
So I guess that's why she was moving all over the place.
Yeah, it sounds
so
like
you don't have
super
to be a slave.
punk rock for a high school kid, you know?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you can not be a slave to the system and still live within the system to have a reasonable life with, you know, a social life.
Yeah. So he's back in northern England with his grandmother. He's staying with her right now. He apparently chose to leave. He had an argument with her and decided he was going to leave. He said he knew exactly where he was going. He stayed. He said he never stayed in too many places at once, that he even stayed in a spiritual community, whatever that means.
A cult.
Yeah. But he said he had been walking for 2 days when he was found.
Oh my gosh.
2 days he had been walking, and he knew exactly where he was going and what he was doing. Okay, so it wasn't like he was lost or anything. And he lied to the police to protect his mother and his grandfather because he didn't want them to get in trouble. But he believes they're planning to go to Finland, and he told them that, and that he thinks they're just going to get caught anyway, so he's like, whatever, I'll just tell on them. Yeah. Interesting, right? He said that he is going to be busy studying, though, and catching up in his schoolwork, and he wants to be in the technology sector.
I mean, that's incredible. I'm good for him in that situation to be self-aware enough to make that hard decision, because, like, it's easy as an outsider to look at this situation and think like, oh my God, how could his mom, how could his grandma, like, I can't believe he did this. Or even on the flip side, I'm sure there are people out there that are like, I can't believe he told on his mom or grandpa or whatever like that. And it's real easy to be on the outside and judge, but like, I don't think that was an easy decision. So good for him to have the confidence and self-awareness to come forward and be able to say, hey, this is not what I want for my life. And remember, he doesn't have a frontal lobe, you guys. Like, I say that all the time, but anybody
He's 17.
Exactly,
he went
10 years away.
He went missing when he was 11.
Yeah.
So for him to be with them all this time and then make the decision to leave on his own like that, and it's just without a social life. It's not like he has friends who are telling him, like, yeah, that's messed up, man. Your mom's weird.
And 10 years away from having a fully formed brain to make good conscious decisions. Yeah. So, like, that self-awareness is pretty incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's seems like he's a smart kid. 17
I hope for the best, though, for him. I really do. I hope he gets everything that he wants and is looking for in life, because it sounds like he's had a hard life.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I bet it has been hard.
I agree.
I bet it has.
Yep.
I'm curious if he had access to technology, because what's up with the whole anti-vax, anti-government thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, he lived in a spiritual,
yeah, but
cult, like.
But true. But when you're like that young and you're raised around it to like oppose it, I feel like you need to hear the opposing side. So where is he hearing the opposing side? I'm just curious.
But there could be kids in that spiritual group, and that stuff just spreads. I don't know.
I'm curious if he had access to the internet or anything like that growing up, or anything. If he lived in a spiritual community, probably not. But yeah, I mean, I hope the best for him too. I think it's incredible he made that decision to get himself out of that bad spot, knowing like this isn't a healthy situation, and I need to go. It's time to go.
Yeah.
It's amazing, to be honest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope he, accomplishes all his goals. But it was interesting to find out.
Yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting.
Case closed.
All right.
That's one.
Let us know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And all right, that is it for the Thought Riot breaking news of the week.
All right. So, to get into our case topics, this is really just a discussion, kind of letting the conversation go where it may, because I found it interesting that, we had kind of an idea about we have ideas about the case, and we think we know something, and then we remember a bit of information from the past, or, unearth a bit of information from the past, and we're like, oh, wait. But this.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Idaho 4 massacre and case right now with Brian Koberger, who is the criminology student out, he's from Pennsylvania, but the crime happened in Idaho, and he was going to Washington College.
In Pullman. Yeah, Washington State University in Pullman, and he stands accused of the murders of Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves, and Ethan Chapin. He's facing the death penalty, and we just talked about the update where we're going to have a summer trial coming up in 2024. Recently, we were talking about on the True Crime Talk Show, our live show, that we're talking about the home and the condition it was found in by the police originally. We were talking about how the crime scene was managed. And you said something about there being a rumor that the home was really hot inside.
Yep.
Now, a bit of information contradicting this, and also have questions, so many questions surrounding this. Get a Clue came out with a video showing an article about a neighbor, and I have that article here by Fox News, entitled "Idaho Murders Slain University Student's Neighbor Says Front Door Left Wide Open After the Attacks." This neighbor came forward and told this was posted December 8th, so the first week of December, just came forward, weeks after the murders, and told Fox News that the front door was left open on the level where the two other roommates were unharmed, meaning the first level, because during that time, everybody thought that Dylan and Bethany were on the first floor, and it was wide open, the front door was wide open at 8:30 a.m. And this is supposedly before anyone knew about the crimes, supposedly. And the 911 call wasn't made until 11:59, so literally like noon.
Yeah.
Question. How did these girls... It's cold. It's cold there. Like, very cold.
I mean, I personally feel like that adds weight to what I was saying, not disproves it.
Yeah, but Bethany's on the first floor. Heat rises. Her room's already going to be cold. And then with the front door right next to her room door open, it would be freezing in her room.
No, not necessarily. Not if you have your thermostat set to like 75 or something like that, and that front door was open, and your thermostat is feeling that cold air, that heat would be pumping.
Well, you're right. The heat would be pumping, and from what I've seen, the thermostat is on the first floor, right by that door.
Well,
very close, in very close proximity to that door, from what I saw. So, in my
opinion, that adds weight to it being blazing hot in there, making smells go, and...
Upstairs where the bodies were.
Well, I mean, I think any door that's closed, if you have a vent in there, it is going to be hot. Because even with a closed door, sure, like, some air escapes, but not much. I've been in every house I've lived in where if you have, like, the front door open and open air in there and the heater's going and it's in a closed room with a closed door, like, that room will get hot, man, because all it is hot air going in there and no ventilation, you know?
Yeah.
So.
It's a good point. Maybe that's right. I just thought it was odd that it's so close to her door, like that it just made me feel like it would be cold in her room, and I don't know.
Or that she would notice.
Or that she would notice somehow.
Yeah.
Also, it makes me question, there were many rumors around town that the roommates had called around to friends telling them what was going on before the cops, like literally that morning, early that morning, around this time that we're talking about. So was the door left open by the suspect, or was it left open by friends, other students, other friends coming in?
That is a good question.
How long were they there? Does that explain the latent shoe print? You know what I mean? Being cleaned up?
Yeah, that's what I've wondered from the beginning, is maybe that shoe print is an accident. Maybe there's something honest to it. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that Brian Koberger isn't seen in any pictures, or they didn't pick up any Vans shoes. So the likelihood of it being his is very small.
It's minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was included in the PCA, which would make you assume that they matched it to him, and would make you assume that it was evidence against him. But they didn't give a size. They didn't say anywhere that they matched it to Brian Koberger, or that he wore the same size shoe, which makes me wonder, like, did they including that hoping it would end up matching Brian Koberger, and it didn't work out that way?
That's what I'm wondering, but,
Yeah, another discrepancy in the case. Really, really strange. Also, we were talking about Chief Fry talking about the door being open, and I saw several people mention, and I don't know where he mentioned this, that he didn't know about the door, but on the press conference on November 16th, so 3 days after the crime, and I think this is the first one. I'm pretty sure it is the first ever press conference when he's answering media questions. Literally the first lady, first reporter that starts asking questions, that's one of her first questions. And he answers it by saying, yeah, the door was left open. So I'm going to play that really quick. It's pretty short.
Chief Ray, thank you for having us. I'm Amanda Rowley with Creme 2 News. You mentioned that there's an indication that it's an isolated, targeted incident, and there is an individual somewhere. Can you give us a reason as to why there's that belief there is a suspect? And can you also give a little more information on the forced entry? There's no sign of forced entry, but was the door, did it seem like any of the entries were left unlocked by any means?
I'll answer the last part there, just because it's at the front end of my mind. We're not 100% sure if the door was unlocked, but there was no damage to anything, and the door was still open when we got there.
Interesting, right? And the whole narrative with the PCA is that Brian Koberger went through the back door. So did he, if just using him because he's the suspect, let's just say whoever did this, did they come in through the front door and exit the back door? Because Dylan said the guy she saw exited the back door, was walking towards it as if they were leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, or is something completely different here? Like, the suspect entered the front door, went into Ethan and Xana first, got heard by Kaylee, and
they said somebody's here.
Yeah, I was trying to think of who was making those comments, though, because when you read Dylan's statement is talking about the comments coming from Xana's room. So at least that's what it appears like in the PCA.
Well, she said heard Kaylee. She heard who she thought was Kaylee saying somebody's here. That it didn't talk about the direction for that specific one.
So then, yeah, I mean, the suspect could have entered the front and gone into Xana and Ethan's room first, and then realized someone else was there upstairs, and then went upstairs to Kaylee and Maddie, and then came back downstairs, and that's where you hear the "I'm here to help you."
Yeah.
Because they were coming back down and somebody was still alive, maybe. I don't know. But I think it's possible.
I've always kind of wondered if Xana wasn't in the room and she walked in on Ethan after something happened to him. And then, or she heard something and she saw, and the person was like, "It's okay, I'm here to help," just to like catch her off guard.
Yeah,
like to make her think.
Very possible.
To make her think everything's okay for a second, so that they can act, because they already know what their plan is, so they can act quicker than her.
Yeah. That the front door being left open is strange. Well, it is strange, regardless of the heat, regardless of the cold. It's weird, and I think that front door being open could add weight to them not knowing they were there, because would the surviving roommates leave that door open if they were up and walking around? I don't know, but it makes me wonder.
Well, here's the part of the PCA that talks about like where they are when the crime's about to happen. Suspect vehicle 1. Okay? And I believe what this is saying here is that the suspect was around the back of the home. But let's see. Let's parse this out. So, a review of footage from multiple videos obtained from King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m., ending at 4:20 a.m. The sightings show suspect vehicle 1 makes 3 initial passes by 1122 King Road residents and then leave via Walenta Drive. Walenta Drive is the road around the back of the home. Right behind it, the tree line. Based off my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with limited vehicles. Okay, yeah, so that statement. Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering an area a 4th time at approximately 4:04. Now, this would be the time that they would have to be parking and going in.
Yep.
It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping, turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52, and driving back westbound on King Road. When suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen Road and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and driving eastbound again down Queen Road. Then it's seen at 4:20 departing at a high rate of speed and is observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea, after listening to that, where this suspect supposedly left their car to enter the home?
No. I don't. I know what lots of content creators are suggesting. I know that there's a parking lot where they say that he parked, but nobody really knows that. And that's what's so important in this case, is to stay aware of these details that come out. And I'm talking about us too, because we are a think tank podcast. We are here to talk about true crime, and we're here to theorize ideas, bounce ideas off each other, and grow our knowledge overall. And I don't want our theories to be taken as fact ever. Never. And there's nothing ever wrong with theorizing either. So, yeah, I don't know. I know that there's a lot of assumptions that he drove around. That was him on this footage and this footage where you can't see what type of car it is. And then he most likely parked here and had something laid out to change. Like, I know that storyline, but is there going to be evidence for that storyline? So,
here's what I see. I see a gap. I see a gap in the footage here. I feel like there's a missing piece of footage here. And I think it's weird. I think it's very, very weird. Because it talks about them having video of it being, of the car being in front of the King Road residence and appears to unsuccessfully attempt to park. And I said I believed at first that he parked on Willenta Drive. That was only because I saw other people saying that's what it appeared to be. And then after reading this, I don't think that anymore at all. I don't think that there's evidence here to say he parked on Willenta Drive behind the home. It says
he unsuccessfully attempted to park.
Successfully attempted to park at 4:04 a.m. He's seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen, driving back westbound on King Road, then is in front of the King Road residence, 1122, and appeared to unsuccessfully park, or attempt to park, and turn around in the road.
Yeah, it's so strange.
The vehicle then continues to the intersection of Queen and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn. That's not Queen Road Apartments, you guys. That's not Linda Lane footage.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about a 3-point turn. That's irrelevant. That's not what they're talking about in the PCA. They're talking about King Road and Queen Road down by Jack DeCour's house. We've seen body cam footage of it. Of the cops walking up and turning right on Queen Road to go to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Because the house is on Queen Road.
Yeah.
Even if the address is King Road.
Yeah.
So that intersection of Jack DeCour's street meets Queen Road. That's the intersection they're talking about. That is nowhere near Linda Lane. That's on the opposite end of the street.
Okay.
Interesting. And then there's a gap. And then they're saying at 420 he's speeding off. So if he made a 3-point turn and then drives back toward the home, you know, at the King Road, Queen Road intersection, drives back towards the home, then there's just this gap. Then he's seen speeding off. And then it says, next, it's seen observed driving southbound on Willenta Drive. So clearly he wasn't on Willenta Drive when he entered the home from the back of the residence.
So
that car was in front of the residence.
So it could be the front, entered through the front, and left through the back?
No. I think they went in and maybe they exited the back and then just walked around the back. Maybe that was just the most convenient exit.
Yeah. And this goes back to, like, building that story that looks the best for prosecution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do they even know what really happened? Do they care? Do they care what the truth is? Or do they just want their conviction because they have some evidence that makes them believe Kohberger's the guy?
Okay, but do you not see the gap? Because they have video footage of him making a turn in the middle of the road in front of the residence. And then they said he's going back down Queen Road and then is seen speeding off. So where's the footage?
Going the wrong direction.
Where is the footage of... If they have video footage of him in front of the house turning around, then and video footage of him speeding off from the home, then why is the footage about him being parked there and getting out of the car, why is that not mentioned here? Why is that gap here?
Yeah, I think that's a good find. I really do. That gap is really important because if he is in the Linda Lane footage, is there another entrance in? While I'm doing editing, I'll look at that. I don't have it in front of me right now. But is there some kind of other entrance where you can enter driving away from the house down Queen? I don't think so, but...
The 3-point turn was not at the Linda Lane. Yeah. I just realized that just now while reading that.
I think it was.
I took everyone at their word. They're wrong.
In front of the house.
So, I mean, I just read it to you.
Yeah,
so,
I know, but
the 3-point turn is at the intersection of Queen and King Road.
Right, I'm sharing what I've believed.
This is Linda Lane.
Yep.
That's the opposite. This is where the 3-point turn is.
Mm-hmm.
This is the residence.
And there's parking here.
This is Willenta Drive.
Yep.
Here, let's do layers and do...
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess no. Willenta Drive could be a good access point, I guess.
Yeah, it could be.
But you could, I guess, park on the back of Queen Road because it's essentially a dead end.
Yeah.
And do it that way. Maybe that's why they don't have video footage of it. I don't know. You could still enter the back of the home. This is the parking lot, I think, right?
Yeah,
this is a parking lot.
He's seen driving away, you said.
Yeah, he is seen driving away.
So then how would he park over here if he's driving away? The wrong direction.
You got me, man.
And I think there's been quite a few creators that have called this out. You know, for those of you that are new here, we have a lot of people that are just finding this case because of our content on the podcast and everything. But then we also have people that have been following a lot of content creators on this. And we just haven't covered this before. The going the wrong direction footage. Yeah. And it's important and it needs to be brought up more because it doesn't make sense where that gap is. What are they trying to say? That he was driving the wrong direction, and during that block of time, he turned around and went back to the house, and for whatever reason, a camera didn't catch him, but it did all the other times? I don't know. Or again, are we watching a situation where, for whatever reason, because of illegal reasons, they know it's Kohberger, okay? And I'm not saying he's guilty, but just going down that rabbit hole. They know it's Kohberger. They know it. They have something that they know it's him, but they don't have evidence to prove it. So then they're twisting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. There is just enough information in this case to cause issue, but not enough to help anybody get any explanations whatsoever. It's a big headache.
It is a big headache.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. The cell phone data is not true. I doubt the eyewitness statement. I mean, there's a lot in here I have issues with. But I can also believe that Brian Kohberger can be guilty. Yeah. Because there is a lot of things in here, you guys, like, that make it appear like... Because I'm one of the people that believes... How many coincidences are in murder? Very few, if any. There's a lot of coincidence with him being here if this is truly proven to be him. Like they literally have his license plate on the car, or they have an image of him in that car, whatever. Like, the coincidence... there's a lot against him, too. Let's be real here.
No, for real. Yeah, there's red flags here for sure. Like, I definitely see why he was named a suspect. I definitely see how he could be guilty. People are saying that the Linda Lane footage matches up. But here's my issue with that, is that I don't know if it actually matches up. Now, the 500 Queen Road is the stopping and turning around. And before that, they claimed that he made 3 initial passes by the residence, but they never said that he stopped and turned around in front of those Queen Road apartments. 500 Queen Road is those apartments, and here's the thing. It says number 52. That's a unit number. This is number 52. This is before they ever get to the parking lot.
Okay.
Why were they that specific with that unit number? Because that unit number is before you ever get to the parking lot. That seems very specific, no?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's kind of weird. And they only talk about him turning around one time in front of the Queen Road apartments. And then... in front of the King Road residence, and then the intersection of Queen and King Road.
Yeah. Yeah. I see issues. I do.
And I just don't know how you have video footage of his car in front of the house, and not have video footage of him if he went through the front door?
Yeah. Yep. With the front door being open. No, I agree.
Maybe it's there. Maybe it's there and they're hiding it. But is this a trial by ambush, dude? Because that's what it's kind of seeming like. If you have that footage and it's not in the PCA, and then if it's not then talked about after, like, I hope it's in discovery at least.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes me question. Like, it's just kind of weird.
Me too. Me too. Almost every piece that we look into, it doesn't feel like it is solid enough. And again, I go back to the fact that we've looked at Rex Heuermann, we've looked at Gilgo 4, obviously not Delphi, that's a completely different situation, but a lot of these other cases, they very clearly have evidence that this person was here at this time because of this, this person was here at this time because of this, this person was here at this time because of this, and they're able to prove that it is that person in that area and what time it is. There is nothing like that here. Nothing. They're saying suspect vehicle 1 because they believe that the vehicle type matches Kohberger's, but they don't have any information in there to confirm that it's Kohberger's. They just suspect it is.
Here, I want to lay it out very, very clearly what I'm getting at real quick. In that there's the front door is left open. If that was by the suspect, then they entered through the front door, and if Dylan's statement is true, exited through the back sliding glass door. Now, if that is true, then where did this person park? Everyone assumed, I think, for a long time now, that the suspect vehicle went around that Queen Road corner and parked in this back lot right behind the house, behind the tree line. And that they probably went through the back of the home, through the back sliding glass door, and also exited through the back sliding glass door. Mm-hmm. This front door being open throws off that whole theory if it was by the suspect and not by Dylan or Bethany calling friends over.
Agreed.
We don't know. We don't know why that door's open. And it's also, if Dylan and Bethany were calling friends over and friends came over, why would they leave the freaking front door open like that?
I agree. I don't know.
Why wouldn't they shut it? Especially because if they called friends over, I feel like they were hiding something. And you wouldn't just leave the freaking front door open.
Unless there's unless one of them was rushing. Somehow Ethan's brother heard that he was hurt and he comes flying through like
Ethan's brother would not have not called the cops that early in the morning. I don't believe that. He's family. He's his twin.
Yeah, I'm assuming that he found out minutes before the cops.
This is 8:30 in the morning that the door is left open. Hours before the 911
I get it. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of the police. I understand that there's an eyewitness saying that it was open at 8:30. However, eyewitnesses are unreliable, so I don't put a lot of, worth into it. I'm not saying it's not true. I think that based on my understanding of this case, I'm more likely to sway towards I believe it than I don't believe it, but I just know that eyewitnesses' statements aren't reliable.
But I think what adds more weight to this is the fact that the reporter asks, was there any signs of forced entry? Were any doors unlocked?
Right.
And he says there's no signs of forced entry, but the door was left open.
Yeah, and from my understanding, there were kids
from the suspect
before the cops got there.
Yeah, but he didn't say that.
Yeah, but he also says that the two roommates weren't the ones who called the cops.
Yeah?
So someone else was there.
Yeah, but that is at noon.
I know. Cops weren't there at 8:30.
Yeah, but
cops were there at noon.
You're adding that context when that's answering a different question later. So I think it's important that he doesn't mention that when he's answering this specific question about forced entry and unlocked doors.
Yeah.
If he had mentioned, but, also these things, then I'd be like, okay, well, maybe he doesn't believe it was by the suspect. But it appears he does believe it's by the suspect because he mentions it when she's asking about the actual crime in forced entry.
It could be. That's a stretch. But it doesn't mean it's wrong.
I don't think that's a stretch, but okay.
There's just concrete evidence and statements, and there's not. That's not concrete. That can go both ways.
Sure, I guess, yeah.
So it's important to highlight that I think either one could be right. I just know that I don't ever bet on an eyewitness statement. Ever. Never. I don't care how much I like them, how honest I think they are. Eyewitness statements aren't reliable.
No, but sometimes they are.
I don't agree. I don't think memory is reliable, so...
It's interesting that it did come out the first week of December, not right away, though.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why.
Yep.
But yeah, so just to lay it out, and then I'll ask you guys, what you think about it, is I just think that it's really, really odd that the door, we have reports of the door being left open, and it's not the back door. It is the front door, specifically. And that we have in the PCA them talking about having camera footage of suspect vehicle 1, in front of the home. Like, they have actual video of it in front of the home is what it appears. Because that's what they're mentioning here.
Yep.
And the door's left open, but no mention. There's a gap. There's no mention of seeing actual Brian Kober, a suspect getting out of the vehicle, or anything like that. And I'm curious, do they actually have it? Do you think they have something like that? Do you think there's a reason they didn't include it in the PCA? Is that proper? Is that normal? Is that shady? Do you think we have a trial by ambush? Like in the Murdaugh situation, that video of Paul, remember the Paul video where you hear him in the background and everything? That sealed it for a lot of jurors, that video, because it proved some of Murdaugh's lies.
Yeah. And
that he was there. So, I don't know. Is that going to be a situation like this? I don't know. But I want to know what you guys think about it. So let me know.
All right, so we are going to continue down this Idaho 4 topic, which, like we just said a minute ago, Idaho 4 topic is the Moscow, Idaho massacre, where 4 students unfortunately lost their lives in one of the worst, most violent crimes ever, with Madison Mogen, Kaylee Consalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, and they were assaulted with a large fixed-blade weapon by what most people believe to be Brian Koberger. And this is, if I could put the cases that we cover, like, number 1 that we talk about the most. We've made a commitment to our viewers that we are going to talk about the Idaho 4 case the most. The reason being is because we cater to our viewers, our thought writers out there, you guys that are watching it. And, we work for you. So what you want to see is what we're going to give. And we're just going to give it in our thought righty fashion, So this is the main case that we're digging into. I mean, when we dig into a case, we dig into everything. We're going to pull it apart piece by piece, all the way down to its cells, and potentially rebuild it after we have a thorough and complete understanding of each piece of evidence, one at a time, separate and objectively from any other details around people, things like that, feelings, So one of the questions that I asked recently on our Thought Riot YouTube polls, okay, and it got a ton of votes, you guys, a lot of votes, and it sparked this, and it's a continuation of exactly what we're talking about here, where you were just talking about, with that gap in time, the front door left open, not being able to, at least via PCA, prove where he parked. So is it possible to even have him parked, get out of the car, whatnot, But what I asked in the poll is, boom, you will see it on the screen now, but it says Idaho 4 random case study. If you could get 100% 100% clarity, 100% clarity on one piece of Idaho 4 related situational evidence using a magic lamp, of course. Haha. What piece would you want to know? Okay. Number one that we had here. All the details surrounding the IGG SNP top to bottom. That is all notes. That is all everything. How they made the decisions, who made the decisions, who did the tests, who did everything, okay? We have 3% of the votes, all right? 3% of the votes. Then we have all the details surrounding Rosendahl. In this case, I meant Tolson, but I said Rosendahl, and that's okay, because Rosendahl has a deep connection to the community, and multiple people corrected me in the comments, which I appreciate. You guys are looking out. But we have 0%. Number 3, all the details gathered during the autopsy, video, audio, everything. We have 10%. And then we have what went on in the house from time of death to 911 calls. So we're talking anywhere between 3 a.m. to midday, right? Noon. Who was in there? What were they doing? And how were they doing it? And we have a staggering 80%. And so many people left comments saying, I am blown away that I voted for what went on during that missing 8-hour time frame. And then to see so many people want that. And I feel like we have a good mix of people in Thought Riot as well. We have a lot of people in here that believe he's guilty. We have a lot of people that believe he's innocent. We have a lot of people that don't know. We have a lot of people that are in the middle, you know. And to see that that's one thing that literally everyone wants to know.
Everybody wants to know that.
It's insane. Insane. And just to be clear, we have the fifth one here, which is other, and then please include below, and that's 6%. But a lot more than 6% of you left comments, and that's what we're going to be going into today, and it's just going to be an open conversation. So I wanted to go through these, and the reason why I wanted to go through these is while we're the presenters of Thought Riot Podcast, you, all of you that are watching our Thought Riot Podcast, every single one of you, and most of you, if not all of you, know way more information about this case and things in general than I do. And I've learned so much from all of you watching, and I take all of your comments to heart, and please keep them coming. I read every single one of them. I'm sure it'll get to a point one day where I won't be able to reply to all of them, but there would have to be a lot of comments for me not to read all of them.
It's literally what he does all day, nonstop. Like, he doesn't have a life anymore. It's pretty sad, actually.
Yeah. But I read all of them because there is such important stuff in them. And because there is so much good information and intelligent questions and details and comments. And it's just, they're incredible. So keep them coming, and I appreciate you. And that's part of the reason that I am reading these out. Now, I'm not going to go into a shout out for every single person just because we have a lot of questions here. But you guys know who you are. So let's get into it. Number one, I heard they questioned a lot of people. I would love to see all the videos law enforcement has of questioning and clearing possible suspects and persons of interest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
a really good one. I was thinking when you did that poll, as you were reading the answers, I was like, man, that kind of suck. I could have done way better than that. Because there's things
they're good.
There's things I want to know way more than like the IGG or Rosendahl, Tolson. I mean, Tolson, that's an important part. That's a big part.
Just as important as the IGG, in my opinion. The IGG proves criminal activity on law enforcement's part.
Yeah, I know. They're all important.
I think it is.
Everything you picked is important. I think that there's... everybody can sit here and complain, okay, that they don't like that this case has been that the media makes it salacious, but they're still waiting for every salacious bit, and I feel like those are the things that people want to know, is the salacious parts, which is like what the roommates, it's what happened, because it's the part that's the most dramatic and weird.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're going through these, to hear what the community, wants to hear. And I figured we could just talk on that specifically, are these things. So.
Number one is great, though. I love that one, because I would love to see that, too.
I agree, and I think that's another very big piece to this case, is if you think Bryan Kohberger is innocent, or you're not sure if he's innocent, being able to see, like, the body language, the comments, the details around some of the other people that were close to these kids and in this area and close to that Greek life, I think does a lot, including the fraternity.
Yeah.
So, 2, testimony of the eyewitnesses. So, Dylan, Bethany, and the DoorDash driver. So that's really interesting too, seeing the actual video testimony of the DoorDash driver. Now, if I had to guess, I would say the person that wrote that has some major doubt in the law enforcement there.
Yeah. Because
we've heard what supposedly the DoorDash driver said, what Bethany said, what Dylan Mortensen said, but I'm right there with them that I want to see it.
Do you think it's odd that the name of the driver that took Kaylee and Maddie home was released, but not the identity of the DoorDash driver? Why is the DoorDash driver more protected?
I think the DoorDash driver saw a car.
Dude, the DoorDash driver is their identity is more protected, I think, than any other person in this case. There's no other person in this case, I don't think, whose identity is being as protected as the DoorDash driver.
Unless we don't know.
Unless we do not know of them and have any idea that they exist.
Yeah, because everything's gagged. So I don't know. Of the known people, eyewitnesses that are tied to this case, the DoorDash driver's right there. But yeah, I don't know. That's such a good one to ask a genie for. So number 3, I think this one's good too. I'd also like to hear from Ethan's brother about the fight at Sigma Chi that night. Was he there? Did one of the people that supposedly fought with Ethan and Xana say anything to him after? So that whole family is in the Greek community. So was Ethan's brother Hunter there? Was either Hunter there? And how did that fight go down? Are we even going to hear about that? Because in my opinion, that's really important to this case.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to hear about it in court. Unless Ann Taylor brings it up. The only reason it would ever be brought up in court is because of Ann Taylor.
Yeah. I agree.
Saying, look at their incompetence, the judge. They didn't even, or jury, they didn't even go follow up when, 2 of the victims, you're claiming that the girls are the target. They got into an altercation with somebody earlier that night. Yep. And you didn't follow up on this.
Yeah, look at the statistics of what happens in homicides after there's been an altercation. I bet the statistic is pretty high.
Yeah, that's like a heck of a coincidence.
That when a homicide happens, 50% of the time, I'm making this stat up, but I wouldn't be surprised to see 50% of the time there was some kind of altercation, verbal, physical, or other, before this happening. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this is a good one here, but they just said it's a toss-up. I need to know about all of the events from 9 p.m. on the 12th to the 911 call. So that goes right into, one of those answers. But just yes, knowing from 9 p.m. to see if there was anything weird, who was at the house while they were still gone, who showed up at the house, who left the house before any of the roommates were back home. You know what I mean?
You should have added, I want to see, like, one of the options should have been all camera footage, all of the footage.
Yeah, but that's too vague. That's too obvious.
What?
Just all camera footage from the crime?
All the 51
and the
terabytes.
Yeah, that's too obvious. That's everything. You need to be specific.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
The 51 terabytes is probably a whole lot of nothing, too.
I get it, but you're supposed to ask for one thing. Asking for 52 terabytes of all the evidence that is in this case, that's like somebody cheating an answer. That's like asking for more wishes.
Okay.
You're just asking for all the evidence. That's obvious.
Okay.
So
I like to cheat, I guess.
I want to know why he did it. And this is interesting. I was surprised to see a lot of subjective answers. What I say I'm surprised, but I guess I'm not really surprised because a lot of people out there, for one reason or another, relate to Bryan Kohberger in certain ways where, maybe they look at him being bullied by mainstream media and they've been in a situation where they felt emotionally similar. I don't know, but so I want to know why he did it and whether this tragedy can be prevented from happening in the future. That's a good one, the prevention.
Yeah, the why is important to me also. I want to know why this happened.
Yeah, maybe.
It's important to me.
I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I think anything that's important to anybody is important. Just for me, it's not important, but it doesn't mean that there's only one right answer.
I think the why goes into the psychology, and it does go into the prevention. If you know why, you're more able to, do things that would help prevent it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you just, it's, like, why does my child act this way? Oh, because they have ADHD. Well, now I can treat the ADHD and prevent that behavior in the future.
Yeah. This person said that if they knew all the people that were in the house from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., they think they could figure out the crime. And I think that's very possible. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. This one. So I want to know the ambiance and atmosphere and relationship between when Maddie and Xana moved in from day one. And I think what they're getting at here, which that's interesting, was there any conflict between any of them? Was there a baseline of how that house functioned and what they did there, and was that changed along the way?
Do you know what I find odd, and I guess this is a good time to bring it up? And if you guys have found this out there, please let me know. I have never, not once, been able to find a picture of Xana and Xana and Karlie together. Not one, except for when they're in a group photo. Everybody else has taken pictures on their own, like Dylan and Karlie, Maddie and Xana. Like, I've seen pictures of all of them, like, in twos, all different. But I have never been able to find a picture of Karlie and Xana together.
That's interesting.
Just by themselves. They hang out. Like, not at all.
So maybe they're onto something here. Maybe there was some kind of, whatever. I don't know.
Maybe. There's been a lot of people talk about that between other roommates. And I don't know. I feel like we don't have enough there to know for sure yet.
So that's a good ask.
Yeah.
That's a really good ask to understand the background a little bit.
The dynamics, yeah.
Understanding the background a lot of times can help you, like, foreshadow things. So, if you're trying to figure out who could have done this crime, looking at past relationships could help with that,
For sure.
I want to know the context and details surrounding each victim. Yeah, that's a big given. Just knowing all the details, that would be their genie wish, you know. Knowing all the details around each person. So I think they're talking about, like...
Physical details?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So where they were found, like bodies, who was, like, the wounds, things like that, you know what I mean? Like, all those details, including the blood tests, like, all that. So, why Maddie's boyfriend happened to be gone that weekend as if he had prior knowledge this would happen? That's been a big one.
Wait. Does Maddie's boyfriend go to U of I?
I think so. I haven't covered Maddie's boyfriend. We haven't talked about any boyfriends yet. So I don't have a lot of background knowledge into any of the details into any of them. But I don't know. I know that there's a ton of questions because a lot of times in a crime like this, it happens to be the boyfriend, husband, lover, whatever.
There's multiple circumstances with this crime that immediately make you think inner circle. The no forced entry. And they all have boyfriends, and you have somebody who's moving away and moving on with their life, for one, and leaving behind a lover. So there's many circumstances that make a lot of people think inner circle.
Yes, there is. That's a good one. We still need to dig into that. Now,
I didn't realize he was gone that weekend, though. I didn't realize that. I guess I missed that.
I want to bring this one up because we've said this before. And this is so important to see if it was one person or two. They said, I want to know what is in the autopsy. If in there is blood transfer from victim 1 to 2, okay, then you know, like this was 1, this was 2. And then transfer from 1 and 2 to victim 3 and 4, then you understand it's one person or one weapon, right?
The DNA transfer between bodies from the knife.
Correct, yeah.
Even if the killer just wiped the knife,
it would still be there.
There would still be trace DNA.
Yep, there would be. There would be. And I know we've talked about this before. And the defense better ask about this.
Yeah, that helps you determine the order of who was killed first, which could help you determine a target, an intended target. It could also... because, like, if Ethan and Xana were first, like, that changes things. If Maddie and Kaylee were first, that might change things.
Yeah. I agree with you. That could also give you an indication on where they came in at the house. They could do all kinds of stuff.
And if there was more than one killer. Because if there's no DNA transfer...
Right. Yep.
Then what?
Yeah.
Or only transfer between the 2 in the room.
1 and 2, and then 3 to 4. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh man, this one gets me. So, I want to know if the leaked ring cam audio that we all heard is authentic. I want to know that too.
Oh.
On TrueCrime Design, the audio that came out and had been, that
lady claimed she used
up.
it. That from a different crime, though. She said she faked it.
What lady?
There's a lady on TikTok who claimed she faked it to prove a point and that it's from another crime.
Okay, but again, that's just a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So we don't know. We have no idea. We know that audio came from there. So did she just take that and then put it, like, what? You know what I mean? What's the point?
Yeah, I don't know.
We know audio came from there. and there is a thud, there is a dark dog bark, there is a yelp or whatever, some kind of human sound on there.
In the PCA it says whimper, and there was a lot more than a whimper in that. There was screaming and talking.
Yeah, when it's cleaned up and all the white noise taken away. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. You never know who is authentic online. Never. Okay. I mean, there could be people that's in our, circle of thought rioters that have a specific reason for being there. You never know.
Or what if
they have a separate goal to push a narrative it happens all the time.
I know this is tin hat.
Marketing 101.
What if it was leaked and there is a part of this crime that's being hidden, and that exposes part of it, so they paid somebody to say, I faked it.
Yep. There's a lot of reasons.
It's pretty tin hat.
Because there's a name in there. It's not that tin hat. It's just that's what you would do. That's just normal practice. It happens all the time in business. It happens all the time. I don't know who they are, but, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. So it's not as far-fetched as you would think it would be. I've seen it in my own life personally. Things like that get handled. We've seen companies do it. It happens all the time. So, what happened during the fight with Ethan and Xana? Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned one like that earlier, and I agree. That's a big deal for me too. I would like to know that.
Huge deal. What was said? What words specifically? And there are eyewitnesses there. It's just whether they actually said something or not.
Right.
All the info on Bryan Kohberger at his job and interview with police, along with the details about the professor he worked under that wrote the books, specifically about a crime like this.
That would be super interesting, too.
I agree. I agree.
Would love to see the interview footage of him with the FBI. I would really like to see that.
Me too. I'm telling you, that's why I wanted to do this, because a lot of these questions are a big deal. It also gives people an insight into the psychology of the community and what they find interesting in this case, what they feel like they need to know in order to solve this or consider it solved personally. And that's very important. Very important, because this is our justice system, the people's. So you need your people to believe in it. And there's intelligence here. It's not like we have a whole bunch of tin hat madness. No, there's real questions. And I've already seen multiple legal experts talk about this PCA and how poorly it's written. There's no questions there. It doesn't matter if you think he's guilty or innocent. There's gaps, there's holes, there's problems.
Yeah, and in the Danny Rowland case, the guy who was accused that everyone thought did it, he had a scarred up face, and the way he looked and his background really made people think for sure he was the guy, to the point of when there was exculpatory evidence, they thought, they explained it away. Well, it's still him. It's still him. He was a part of it. There's probably just a co-defendant. And it reminds me of this case a little bit, just because Bryan Kohberger's almost like this silent boogeyman who nobody ever hears really speak. We've never seen videos of him behaving like a normal human being, not in court. He's like this weird silent boogeyman that, the media photoshops his eyes to make him look bug-eyed and dead, and it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it is strange, but, this is a criminology student who knows it's better to be silent.
It absolutely is.
Because anything you say is going to be manipulated.
I understand why people ask, well, wouldn't you be screaming to the rooftops, I'm innocent? Well, no, I wouldn't. I would
circumstantial.
I would be listening to my lawyer. Especially if I had a good lawyer that I felt like was fighting for me and was helping me, and if they told me, keep your freaking mouth shut. Do not say a word. Don't even say you're innocent. Say nothing. Then I'd be like, okay, yes.
You got it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I will be quiet.
You got it.
Yep.
All right. I want to know where Dylan was the afternoon before the crime. Interesting.
I would like to know that too, because that's not mentioned anywhere at all. One thing I also wanted to mention, oh gosh, I lost it. Hopefully it'll come back to me. It literally left my brain that quick.
Look, I understand. Police body cams on entering the house when the bodies were discovered. I agree. I think that has a lot to tie into it. It'll show the front door. It'll show the back door. It'll show any evidence that's laying out in the house.
If there's a trail anywhere.
If there's a trail. If that sheath can literally be seen from outside the door, halfway under her body, halfway not. I mean...
Just when it was found, because I don't think, after rereading the PCA so many times, I don't think Payne is saying he found it when he was standing at the door looking. Because he actually says in the PCA he later found it. I swear he does.
I'm not going to go into it now. We'll look it up, but I don't believe that. I believe that it's supposed to mean that he found it from the door. So
it's
because all he's doing is discrediting all of them. So what, none of you saw it? Like, oh, I forgot, this is a weapon shape.
Yeah,
I think that it was meant to be from the door.
Okay.
So all electronic data, correspondence between victims, students and family, 6 months prior till present day, financial data also on fraternities as well, and social media.
That's a lot of data, man.
If Brian Kohberger isn't the guy, I think that could solve a case. People don't realize how much information is in data. It's important.
I mean, I would just want... Yes, I want that, but I want it after it's been analyzed by a non-biased expert.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sort through all that data myself.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I
would.
It depends,
I don't want to.
Yeah. What is the evidence or DNA from inside the house that has not been made public? I mean, according to Bill Thompson, there is none.
Yeah.
At a party house.
Well.
With hundreds of people there, as seen on body cam. They only found one trace DNA sample.
Well, they found 4.
Not according to him. They were unusable. They were never tested and put in a system.
Well, they were tested because they know they're male.
I hear you, but that's not what came out of Bill Thompson's mouth. So I'm going based off of what was said in court, in front of a camera, that you can find online. Everything else doesn't show anything. So I hear you. We're on the same wavelength. Bill Thompson says there isn't any. I would like to know why Ethan's sibling's vehicle was in the driveway and towed. It was left there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Right? This person says, I want to know if Kaylee had not returned to Moscow, would this crime have occurred?
Oh, that's a real genie wish, because there's no way to know that without a genie.
Nope.
Unless we find out she's the target. That's the only way.
Unless we find out she's the target, or we find out, if Brian Kohberger is the true perpetrator of this crime or somebody else is, and they come out and talk. But even after... somebody that can do a crime of this magnitude, like a serial ender, they can't be believed. Half of everything that comes out of their mouth is fake. You have to verify everything. You can't take anything at face value.
True.
I want to know what exactly the homeless residents around the town think of Moscow PD. That's a really, really, really good question. Because if anyone has a bead on how things are, it's going to be your homeless.
It is homeless people, especially with law enforcement. And that is an incredibly insightful question.
Yeah.
Whoever asked that, kudos to you. That's a deep question. Somebody who has a lot of experience in life. Very insightful question.
It is. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be able to tell you a lot.
They would. They really would.
I would like all applicable video footage of Bryan Kohberger's movements in Pullman and abroad on the night of November 13th. Yes, yes. The video footage from everywhere. I agree with you. That's literally the only thing I'm going to believe.
You said that was a cheater question earlier when I said that's what I would want.
No, you asked for all data.
No, I was talking about the video footage of the car for the most part. That's what I meant. And then I just summed it up with the 51 terabytes at the end of my question.
That 51 terabytes is all their evidence.
Yeah,
that's everything.
I get it. But I was originally talking about the car.
Okay.
I was. I don't know. I guess I dropped the ball trying to say what I was trying to say.
But that is what I got. The one thing, just to recap it here, I think that our community is so intelligent, asking some of these questions that I have never even thought of, some of the angles to get answers that I had never even thought was possible to ask. I'm reading some of these and I'm like, dang, dude, you guys are so good, so on top of it. And I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you, and we're going to keep working towards getting some of these answers. What's interesting to me is the psychology aspects of it, different demographics of where people are from, what our collective life experiences that we've all had in our lives, whether good, bad, or other, help add to the way that we look at any crime, like this crime here, and I think that's why it's so important that we are accepting of everybody, accepting of people that have, completely opposite views from ours, accepting people that have off-the-wall views. Like, everybody's opinion should be heard and is worth something. I don't look at people and think, your opinion is worth more because of this, and this. No, I think everybody's opinion is worth everything. And the quality of comments that we get is just incredible.
It is. It really is.
It is incredible. And I want you guys to keep sending them, keep giving them, because I get a lot of our content ideas from questions. Because then I'm like, I need to know that answer. What can I do to figure it out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So keep them coming, you guys. This whole segment is a shout out to all of you. Phenomenal questions. Great insight into the answers that we need for this crime, to understand it and accept things and figure it out. And if anybody's watching Thought Riot Podcast, because we know that you do, that is part of the case, whether you're a local, whether you're in the justice system, if you want to help cater and or give clarity to the rest of society around the public justice system that we have and that you expect the people to support, these are the ways you do it. Work to get some of these answers out so that, our justice system is meant to include the people. That's what it's there for. The people need to feel like they're part of this justice system and they're helping get justice for one of their own. We're all Americans, so anybody that looks at sleuths and tries to put them down, that is such judgmental crap, because sleuths do what they do because they care. It's not some selfish need. Almost everyone we talk to, it's because they're looking for real justice in their America.
Yeah, I mean, the sleuths are looked at like these really annoying little, I can't say a bad word, they're just trying to stir the pot for no reason, almost like a sewing circle. Like they're just trying to put, I don't know. It's like nefarious intentions put on people. And I agree with you. People want to feel like they're a part of it. People, and that's okay. Like, I feel like excluding the true crime community from any case is automatically going to create the situation we have right now in this case. And I think that the police taking the true crime community under their wing, offering information, offering interviews, offering, just dialogue between the community who cares and the police force, investigators, whoever, would actually settle a lot of this down. Like, a lot.
It would also get cases solved quicker.
It absolutely would, because you have people like this.
Police.
You have people like this asking these kinds of questions, and I hope the investigators were asking these questions, but they're just people like me and you are people, and they're not going to think of absolutely everything always. And it could be one random question like that to make something click.
Absolutely. And also, though, when you have your entire society, the majority of the American people on your side and working for you, with you, not against you,
that's only an asset.
They are going to submit this information directly to police, whereas they're not going to when there's no trust.
Yeah, the police want to pick and choose, though, because I saw interviews with them, like Chief Fry saying, oh, it's taken on a life of its own. You put the facts out there and they just take on a life of their own. And talking... I mean,
that's life in general, though. It's so over the top to act like this is different.
And talking about how, well, and then you have these rumors, and then we end up spending our time chasing down all these rumors that go nowhere, and it's like they want to pick and choose is what they want to do. They ask for information, but then when they get information, they complain because it wasn't relevant.
Yeah.
Because there was a rumor. But would you rather them not tell you about the rumors at all?
Right.
What if that rumor happened to be true? Because sometimes they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just think it's kind of silly. Like, if you get 50 tips about one rumor, okay, it's one rumor. Like, you don't have to go investigate it 50 times.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with you. But
I don't know. I'm just saying.
We are curious what you think about it and the continued questions you have. And just keep them coming, you guys, because you guys are incredible. You guys are the real investigators out there, and you guys are Thought Riot Podcast. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I enjoyed reading all of those a lot.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was.
I recently saw this case because of one of our viewers, Kimmy, who sent me a link where someone was talking about this because there was a surviving roommate. And that's an interesting aspect to it, but I see multiple things that are very interesting surrounding this case that kind of remind me of the Idaho 4 Moscow student murders, where there is a surviving roommate. It is a knife crime, and it's a house full of girls. And there were theories about drugs.
Interesting.
Weird, right? And, like, mobs.
Yeah.
Weird. Super weird. So, this is Halloween 2004. We have Leslie Ann Mazzara and Adrian Insogna. I'm not going to keep saying her last name because I don't quite know how to say it. Like, I heard it said a lot, and I still, like... I know I'm butchering it. So, Adrian and Leslie, they were women in their 20s, figuring out life. They were focusing on their careers. And that Halloween night, they were handing out candy. So they're handing out candy. Adrian is, she's more of like an intellectual, while Leslie is more of like a beauty queen, like even won a pageant and everything. And at the time, Leslie was working for a winery ran by Francis Ford Coppola, which was the director of The Godfather.
Okay.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be why there's the mob idea, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly why. You're right. Adrian, she worked at the Napa Sanitation District as the assistant engineer. So you see, Leslie's like the more social one. Adrian's more of like the intellectual, serious one. Yeah. Anyway, and they had a roommate named Lauren, who ended up being the survivor. So that night, they're handing out Halloween candy, and then they all turn in basically for the night and are hanging out after their little Halloween fun. And Lauren, the surviving roommate, ends up getting a phone call, is what I've heard, or just turning in for bed. So this happened in 2004. There's like, and it's really weird because there's many documentaries on this, yet there's certain facts that get mixed up, and I don't know which documentary is accurate. Like, even later in this case, psychics got involved, but do you know how many documentaries talk about the psychics involved in this case? One out of tons. Like, nobody talks about the psychics that were involved in this case that actually helped literally solve it.
Well, I mean, it could be public perception. You know what I mean? You know what's interesting is a lot of people, especially in the true crime community, put down psychics so much. But do you know how many times actual police use actual psychics?
One of the officers was talking about it in this documentary I was watching about the psychics, and the psychics literally basically broke the case.
I know. It's happened so many times.
They are a huge reason it got solved. Huge.
I think psychics bring a lot of, it's either black or white, because they are either legit or fake.
Right. They're either a con artist or legit, but it's like, can you even be a legit psychic is a lot of people's question. Like, is that even possible? Yeah.
I mean, statistics around police cases and investigations being solved once using a psychic is like above 50%. So, I mean,
Yeah, I know. So, like I said, they're handing out candy. Let's just say they all turn in for bed, whether Lauren got a phone call or not. She goes to her room, she turns in, and then she hears her roommates going upstairs and going to bed and saying goodnight until about, they're all asleep. And then at 2 a.m., Lauren is awoken by glass shattering and blood-curdling screams. Immediately, she is like trying to figure out what is going on. She's hearing footsteps. She's hearing screams. She's terrified. And she peeks out her door. She stands there. She's trying to see what's going on. And she sees a man going down the stairs. And I've heard that she heard him crawling out of the basement window, but then in some of the documentaries I don't hear that. All I know is this man was trying to evade the home, and she herself ran and went out of the door and hid outside.
Okay.
She takes off running.
As he's trying to get out of the house?
Yeah.
Oh.
But she doesn't get caught by him. She waits out there for a little bit, and then she goes back inside, and she checks on her roommates, and she finds one of her roommates, Leslie, is face down on a pile of clothes. She can see the wounds, the stab wounds. It's a mess. And then Adrian is huddled in a corner, but still alive, barely. Leslie in one of her interviews, or Lauren, I mean, in one of her interviews says that, you know, she was there, but not really. She's like, you know, I'd never seen anyone die before until then. And it sounds like this was incredibly hard for her, of course, like incredibly hard. Adrian asks for her to get help. She runs and grabs her cell phone and thinks, I don't know if the killer's still in the house.
Sure.
So but she, at the same time, you hear about him escaping. I don't know. Maybe she was just being safe, but she runs and grabs her cell phone, and then she gets in her car and starts driving away while on the phone with 911.
Okay.
So I guess self-preservation just kicked in, you know? She says, like, we've been attacked, it's a bloody mess and everything, and they're like, who? And she's like, I don't know. And they come out there, and sadly, both girls, Adrian and Leslie, pass away at the scene. Well, they find cigarette butts outside. They find, which are a specific type of cigarette butt. In 2004, is it Turkish gold, right? Turkish gold?
Yeah.
Is that what they are?
Yeah, I think there's Turkish golds, there's Turkish silvers, like I think
Turkish gold. I'm pretty sure I have that name right of the cigarettes, but that was a new brand. Like literally had just come out in 2004.
Okay.
They find multiple burned down to the butt, meaning that person was there for a while. Like they were sitting there for a while, deciding or watching, whatever. They were there a long time. They collected those. There was also evidence of blood splatter on the wall. So it appeared that the killer had injured themselves while committing this crime. They collected that. And it took a long time for them to figure out who did this.
It makes me wonder if it's someone young with new cigarettes like that. Because, you know, a lot of old-timers have their type of cigarettes that they smoke, and they stick to them.
It was a younger person.
Oh, yeah.
So, it took a really long time. So, originally, the police felt like because Leslie was dating a lot, and she was like a pageant queen, that it for sure she was the target.
Okay.
And so they start investigating all of the guys she went on dates with. There was some weird stuff about one of her ex-boyfriend's fathers continuing to inappropriately call her, even that night. He had called her that night. And it bothered her. That's literally why she left her boyfriend, I think, is because of his weird father. And he was still calling her and called her that night. He got cleared. They collected over 200 men's DNA. And none of them, all of them were cleared. None of them were the guy. 70, what did I tell you? 74? Yeah. So I saw one of the lab technicians or somebody, a forensic scientist, come on and say, we got 74 pieces of evidence turned into lab for this case. She's like, that is incredible because we normally only get like 1 or 2 sent to the lab. I was like,
this is a major case of incompetence. Clearly.
No, I don't know, man. The cops seemed like they were really on it, like from the beginning. They collected over 200 and something people's DNA.
Yeah, but that's testing other people to match one piece they already have.
Yeah, there was no matching CODIS.
So that doesn't add to their physical evidence. Physical evidence is normally an expertise that they come in and they're able to see areas that they could gather or gain evidence that would be beneficial for a trial. So when you see a lack of quantity of evidence, then you either have somebody who doesn't have enough experience to understand that, like, hey, you know, taking pictures in this way or gathering this or checking mists here, or you know what I mean? Like, that's all evidence. So probably your CSI or your investigators don't have experience and understand that can help you. That can, finding a suspect is like solving a puzzle.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the total pieces of physical evidence collected. That is what was turned over to the lab.
Oh, got it.
So I have no idea.
Yeah, that could be a totally respectable number then. That you don't turn over every piece of physical evidence to the lab. That's just what needs to be tested in further analysis.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
But her saying that they normally only get 1 or 2 was kind of odd to me. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting number. It's just something to note, as instructive for future cases of evidence turned over to a lab for a double homicide in a home of 2 girls, and it's a stabbing, okay? So they go on this wild goose chase, with all of these men, never considering that Adrian was the target. Never considered that. They always considered it Leslie. Now, Adrian had a best friend named Lily. Lily, they were supposed to go on some trip together. I think they were going to go climb a mountain together or something. And Lily had literally called off her engagement to her fiance because of some of Adrian's advice, because they were having a lot of issues because her boyfriend, Eric Coppola, was a drunk. And they had a lot of problems in their relationship, and she wanted to go on this trip with her friend, and so she called off the wedding.
Hey, good for her if she's not seeing what she needs to see.
Now, Lily was seen in documentaries and everything saying somebody has to know something. I don't know how, if you saw your friend or, somebody they would be acting strange. Like, you would have to know if they were a part of this because they would have a wound. Like, they'd be acting weird. You would see something's off. And she seemed highly supportive in every way in trying to get this case solved. And so was Lauren, the surviving roommate, which the surviving roommate, I don't know if it's comparable to the situation Dylan Mortensen was in because they were in a very similar situation of hearing things and looking out the door. But this girl did not go into frozen shock phase. She went into self-preservation mode where she ran outside. Yeah. And then she went and looked to go help her friends. And then she ran back outside and got in her car and called 911 and got help.
Yeah, that's just her, the auto reaction type. That's an inherent reaction. The flight. Fight, flight, freeze, and something else. I always forget the fourth one.
Hers was flight.
Right. And
hers was, I'm out of here.
And for most people, these are inherent traits. You can't even, there's nothing you can do about it unless you put yourself in the situation over and over, and it becomes normal where you don't have that adrenaline spike where it's auto reaction.
And then you can control it.
Yep.
Yeah. So police are coming to essentially a dead end, and one of Lauren's friends schedules an appointment with some Hollywood psychics. These Hollywood psychics, end up giving really little bits of information where Lauren was like, okay, that's weird, because the first thing one of them said was, oh, the first investigator on the scene, she had to leave. She couldn't be here. It made her sick. And Lauren looks, because one of the cops went with her, and she's like, looking at the cop, is that true? And he was like, yeah, and that's not publicly released information. And then they start talking about, like, do you know, there's 2 sessions, okay? Because the cops actually went back to talk to the psychics after this on their own.
Yeah.
Because there was so much information. But a few of just to combine them both and the information they got from the psychics was, they said, do you know a person named Lily? And Lauren's like, yeah, that's one of It's one of Adrian's best friends, and they wrote it off. They were like, oh, that means nothing. She's just probably talking about Lily because she's her best friend and wants to, like, give her a message or something, you know? And so it's a team of 2 psychics. One does the talking, one sits there and draws images from the other side. And they drew an image.
No way.
And it looks like the killer.
No way.
For real.
I don't doubt psychics. I think that psychics is just a science that we aren't there yet. I don't think it's all like woo voodoo and stuff. No, there's going to be a way to measure it. We're just aren't there yet.
Yeah, you may be. I think you might be right.
Because memories, we've just recently proven that memories are material.
Have matter.
Have matter. They do things. They make water freeze in certain ways and do certain things. We're able to prove that it has, matter to it. So, like, how do we not know psychics aren't just able to in tune themselves with these random things laying around that are the memory matter,
I don't know.
Our science just isn't there to measure it yet.
Yeah. So, and they also got something about the cigarette butts. Gosh, what was it? It was something about the cigarette butts, and that struck, like, that basically flipped a light switch in Lauren's head about, I think they specifically said the brand of the cigarette butts to Lauren, and Lauren didn't know that. And it wasn't, I don't think it was publicly released information either. And it flipped a switch in her head, and she's like, oh, wait, Lily's boyfriend, Eric Coppola, smokes those cigarettes. That's weird, And in all the documentaries, they completely skip over the fact that the police only got this information from Lauren because of a psychic. They just omit that completely.
It's probably not good for movies because so many people doubt psychics.
Dude, it's great for a movie because it's incredible. And people love that voodoo stuff. What are you talking about? That's why those movies are big.
Not everybody.
Not everybody.
No.
You're right.
I think it's like 50-50.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
But
anybody who's Christian is more than likely, especially Southern, like Baptist, is going to be like, nah, that's the devil, bro.
Yeah. I mean, the devil's out here helping solve crimes.
It creeps people out, so I don't think it's as accepted as...
Yeah, but what, I mean...
I don't want to get into like the politics of that or anything like that.
Moving on.
Like I said, I believe it's a science. No heebie-jeebie voodoo. Like, it will make sense.
Okay, so, anyway... So she gives them Eric Coppola's name, and come to find out, it's over a year later, and he was never even on the radar. He was never interviewed. They never collected a DNA sample from him. Nothing.
And you're trying to tell me that these cops weren't incompetent? What?
He was overlooked. I think that's weird.
They clearly never built a suspect tree, because with every single person, what man and what, or do they have a relationship? Are they, straight? Are they gay? Are they whatever? Okay, now who was the person that they were closest to? Who's that? Like, what?
I agree.
It wouldn't have been overlooked.
I agree. It should have been looked at. Anyway, so.
It's a mistake. It is what it is.
It is a mistake. And they admit to that mistake. They do.
Oh, well, that's all.
Yeah.
That's so. Yeah, accountability enough. Like, things happen, bro.
Yeah. So they actually, after Eric seeing some information break on the news about the case, he was feeling a certain type of way and was like, I'm going to get caught anyway. I should just go turn myself in. And what's funny is after Adrian and Leslie's death, Lily thought, oh my gosh, life is short. She wasn't going on that. She said she wanted to go climb that mountain for her friend because she couldn't. And Adrian actually had said that she would die happy knowing she climbed that mountain and died before she could ever do it, which is really, really sad. So she was saying she was going to go climb it and everything, and then decided that life was short. I'm just going to marry him. And marries him. So this whole year, he's being overlooked for the murder of her best friend, and she freaking married him.
No.
And had Adrian's mother and family come to the wedding and speak.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Like we're a part of the wedding. Adrian's family.
That is so messed up.
Yeah. Super messed up. Also, come to find out, that Halloween night, Eric and Lily had ended up crossing paths at a Halloween party, and some kind of conversation that didn't go well. He was angry. He was, I think, drunk, and he decided that Adrian was the reason that Lily didn't want him anymore. He would never admit to a motive when he confessed. He would never admit to a motive or why he did it, but this is what is assumed based off of what he said and what Lily has said.
His jealousy? Oh, man.
He can't admit his jealousy. But he was resentful, possessive over Lily, and the fact that Adrian, he felt like she was taking Lily away from him because they were going on this trip and she called off the wedding and everything. So he decided Adrian was a problem and he's going to kill her. And it was him. It was all him. All him. He said he had no memory of entering the home or what transpired afterward. Apparently I think he had actually been waiting there for a little bit inside the home at one point, from what I heard on the documentary. But yeah, he also said he has no idea what he did with the murder weapon. Like, they could never find the murder weapon either. Like, it sounds like he was, like, blacked out drunk, almost.
Oh, geez.
In some parts of this. And obviously the DNA matched, and it was in fact him. And for that, he didn't get the death penalty because he confessed. And you know what's crazy? Is at his sentencing, Lily had the gall to go up there, and she had a really good relationship with Adrian's family and everything, and go up there and say, there's nothing you could ever do to make me not love you. And we're having to watch this stand-up man go down for this crime. Like,
really?
Girl, he killed your best friend because he felt like she was taking you away from him, and then you married him, and he lied to you this whole time about it and hid it from you, and you're going to get up there and say all that?
Crazy.
Delusional.
Yeah.
And she was the one on the documentary saying, how could you not know? When you see the signs, they would have an injury. You know, like saying somebody has to know something because you would see your friend acting weird.
Yeah.
But the drug theories were all about Leslie working at that winery with the director of The Godfather, and that they somehow got caught up in some stuff, and they thought that somehow he was involved in the actual mob, the director.
Okay.
And there was a lot of theories, and it bothered the families a lot. The theories, and there was a lot of rumors surrounding this case, kind of similar to the Idaho 4 at that time.
Did it actually bother the families, or was it news saying it's bothering the families?
I don't know, because I didn't watch it back then, but I did see one clip of the mom of Adrian saying, of course it was the inner circle. She's like, this whole time they're looking for an outside. They're thinking it could be a serial killer. You know, they're thinking, and it was the inner circle. Of course it was. How could I be so dumb?
It normally always is.
It normally always is.
Because otherwise there's no incentive. There's no...
It's either a serial killer or it's the inner circle.
Yep. And a serial killer leaves tracks normally.
You know what? I was calling it Eric Coppola the whole time, but the director's name is Francis Ford Coppola. I think it might just be Koppel.
Okay.
That's a really strange similarity.
Yeah.
Like in last names. But that's their story.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
It is interesting, and I see a lot of similarities, but also the whole psychic aspect. Like, that sent my mind for a loop. I was like, I wasn't expecting to see psychic involvement here. At all.
I'm actually gonna write it down so that we can do more follow-up onto psychic statistics, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. A great idea. But, you know, I hope that Lauren, the survivor, is prospering and doing well and has healed and moved on from this. I hope the families are all okay. You know, this was quite a while ago, but those scars last a lifetime. And I'm glad this case was solved and that Adrian and Leslie got justice, real justice. It may have took a little while, but it finally came, and psychics did indeed help.
Psychics broke the case, yeah.
They broke the case, unlike what 48 Hours would want you to think. So, this is a really, really interesting case, and I want to know what you guys think. If you think there's any standouts in this case when comparing it to Idaho 4, any details I didn't talk about, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear more about this case, and just any ideas or thoughts you have surrounding it.
Yeah, let us know. All right, you guys, so we are going to be digging right into the second topic of tonight from moi, and we're going to be getting into the details around objectivity, subjectivity, how those relate to logic and emotion. And, you know, I think it's a funny story. I don't know if everyone thinks it's a funny story, but we were on stream the other night on the True Crime Talk Show, and, you know, a topic got brought up that I had said that, you know, I'm hyper logical, which I am, to a fault, and Malia is more subjective, actually, is what I said, and I think you responded saying...
No, you said emotional.
Okay, I might have. I just don't remember exactly what I said, but it could be. And you know, it was taken like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you would say that. And I think it has to do a lot with the idea that, you know, men like to call women emotional. And I meant it as a compliment. But it got my brain going, though. So, because I meant it as a compliment where, like, I'm logical to a fault, meaning I miss a lot of things because I'm too logical. And so I did pull some evidence around that, some evidence on why it's not beneficial to be logical, even though there's this idea in the true crime community that, like, oh, the only thing that matters is objectivity and logic. And that is not true. I have never seen that. I think that, yes, objectivity when you're doing an investigation is number one, but that's not discounting subjectivity. I think subjectivity is like an added benefit and or power to objectivity, and I also don't think that one is better than the other. Now, part of the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of times I wonder if everyone's on the same page when we're talking about objectivity and subjectivity. And, clearly on the stream, when I said that you're more emotion-driven, that's what I said. You're more emotion-driven. A lot of people were like, thinking that was a bad thing, and that's not at all.
Yeah, and
it's the opposite.
I know that you meant it as a compliment, and I didn't take it wrong. I think it's my fault, honestly, that it was taken wrong, because I spoke up and said, well, I'm also very logical too, and only because I already, I just knew that might be a thing, and I feel like that made people think that I was offended by it when I was not, because I know what he's saying. I know he doesn't think that I'm just like a dumb emotional woman or anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole idea behind it. Like, women, they only make decisions through their emotions. They don't, use their brains and actually think.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't mean that. I know that he doesn't think about me that way for a fact. I know that. But I just wanted to speak up for myself and say that, and I said it with the intention of, I think that a balance of logic and emotion are the ideal, because I do think they're both important, and that could also transfer over to subjectivity and objectivity. There's a balance.
Yeah, I want to be clear, though. I don't agree with that, because I don't think there is an ideal. I think that people that are like hyper logical to a fault, to where they're missing the raw connection between human beings and unable to look at evidence and understand how that evidence could be perceived socially, which sometimes allows you to make objective connections to how that evidence got there and why it got there, which is why subjectivity is important, the how behind things. But I think that if you're hyper-logical or very heavily objective, you got to be able to know where your weaknesses are and cater to those weaknesses. And that's just as successful as having a well-rounded person, and just as successful as somebody who, there are people out there that are overly emotional, and there are people out there that will always look at the subjective matter in any situation, and that is not bad. That is not any worse than someone that's well-rounded, as long as you understand that and you're able to adapt in other ways.
As long as you're aware of it. And yeah, I didn't say that it's ideal because, to put the other down, because I think part of this is inherent, and you can't exactly change it, but you can mitigate and adjust.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So I do want to give a shout out with this, though, because so while that happened on stream, I had already been planning on talking about another topic that's related to this. So I think this is probably part one, and I'm going to do another part two to it also. That's a little bit more in depth, but just give a shout out to Greg, and you'll know who you are, Greg, based on what we're talking about here. So I appreciate you shouting this out. But all right, let's get into it. So what do objectivity and subjectivity mean? So objective means verifiable information based on facts and evidence. Subjective means information or perspectives based on feelings, opinions, emotions of the subject. And a good example of that would be the subjective would be, Brian Kohberger did this crime because he's an incel.
Yeah.
And weird. Okay?
And he hates women.
Yeah. Where the objective of that would be, Brian Kohberger is an incel because he hasn't had a relationship with a woman in the last 5 years. So, Yeah. But when I think of that, I see benefit in both of those, okay? And why I see that too is that when we see cases go from investigation to the courtroom, no matter what anybody says, subjectivity is in everything. And another example of that is because so bias is subjective.
Yeah.
So everybody has bias. Therefore, everybody is subjective in the way that they're looking at their objective data.
Yes.
Just like when you're looking at that objective data, okay, let's say I have a computer in front of me and Malia has a computer in front of me, and we both are looking for the same evidence, okay? And let's just continue using Kohberger here. Let's say we're trying to find the knife, the murder weapon, okay? My subjectivity is going to cause me to look in certain areas, where Malia's subjectivity is going to cause her to search in different areas. So while we're both searching for objective data to back an argument to further, the evidence that we're looking for here, our subjectivity is going to cause us to look in different areas.
It informs our decisions.
Correct. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And I don't know if everyone understands that. And that's why, our community gives me so much good information that any chance I get any opportunity where I can share additional information to continue further that, I think is a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think what you meant by what you said is that I am more subjective than you, and you are more objective, is basically what you were saying.
Yeah, that's the same thing as saying, so logic gets paired with objectivity all the time, even though they're two different things. Emotion gets paired with subjectivity all the time, even though they're two different things.
It's the social construct of the word emotional when saying it about a woman that makes it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That way.
Absolutely. And that's another good point too, is that there's two definitions always.
Yeah.
Always. There's the social definition and there's the dictionary definition. And what's funny is the dictionary definition of words are objective, whereas the social definition are subjective. So when I was researching this and how I could have explained it better when I was on the True Crime Talk Show is talking about the fact that you can't have one without the other. This is like a yin and yang situation. So I know I've said this before when we're on the show, but I'll say it again. If Malia wasn't here to tie me into reality, I don't think our show would be as successful as it is, because I lose my connection with people when I'm digging in the way that I do into objective data and things like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and again, one is not better than the other. Just for whatever reason, I'm like this. It's not something you get to decide to do. I mean, you can choose to look at things more objectively, but a lot of it is inherent in you. You know what I mean?
It's literally genetics a lot of times.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's probably part of my ADHD, and that for most people, being objective takes more energy from your brain and body than it does being subjective, because subjective are led by emotions, whereas human beings tend to run off of emotions on autopilot, okay? And for whatever reason, I do think it could have to do with my ADHD. I'm not really sure. But emotions, I don't run on autopilot with my emotions. And I think it has to do with how quick my brain goes because of my ADHD. So whereas most people, it takes less energy to be subjective because emotions are automatic, for me it takes less energy to be objective. At least that's how I feel. but then my brain never turns off. Like, if I'm trying to, like, people that had a hard day work, you know, and they just want to, like, chill, I can't. Like, my brain doesn't turn off. I have to do things that keep me thinking. A lot of times it's putting on, like, a TV show, but I'm not really watching what's going on in the TV show. I'm, you know, thinking of other problems and things like that. But
sounds exhausting.
I mean, I like it.
It sounds exhausting.
I like it. But, all right, so here's a definition of objective. So, objective means not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering or representing facts. An objective person refers to a viewpoint or approach that is unbiased, impartial, and based on facts and verifiable evidence.
It's like Spock.
Verifiable evidence.
Spock from Star Trek. He's the most objective being in the universe.
He thinks he's objective. He does. Because he's half human. So, I
know there's some issues there. I know. I've seen it. But.
Yeah. So, definition of subjective. So, subjective means based on or influenced by personal feelings, tastes, or opinions. A lot of people don't realize that when we're speaking theory, when we're coming up with think tank ideas, when we're sharing our opinions, those are the subjective takes on objective data. And you literally can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
So, where was I? A subjective perspective can also be called a personal perspective or individual point of view. Subjective views do not have to be provable or grounded in fact, though they may incorporate the facts. Being able to tell the difference between objective and subjective information will make you a better communicator and investigator, decision maker, and problem solver. Depending on what investigation or case you're in, you may lean more heavily on one type of the information rather than the other. So there are some cases out there where you're better off looking at things from a subjective lens than objective.
Wait, you just explained how?
Social interaction, okay?
Okay, so like getting a read off of people.
Getting a read off of people, building a character profile of a person, a behavior profile, that requires subjective knowledge of people. So like sociology is subjective, psychology is subjective. So yes, there can be very heavily subjective topics when you're trying to identify who the suspect is. And subjectivity is not factual data that can be pulled from a book. That's why when people build behavior profiles on serial killers, they vary. You go to one expert, their profile is going to be this. You go to another expert, their profile could be mostly the same with slight differences. It's because those are subjective approaches.
Yeah.
So again, there's a ton of benefit there. And part of the reason I want to talk about this because I think that people need to look at it different. I think that people need to stop looking at cases and the way that people investigate and think that only objectivity sells it. And I'll give a reason. Once I'm done selling the point here on the difference between subjectivity and objectivity, there's literal evidence where objectivity can end up being bad. So
that's literally like the case we just talked about. They didn't build the personal connection and they went the objective route and tested all the DNAs.
Exactly.
Of everybody connected
Yep.
and then overlooked literally one of the closest people to the case.
Exactly.
And it was all an emotional inner circle, possessive, jealous rage type thing.
Yep.
And they were looking for a serial killer or the girl who they considered the one that, you know, got around or something, you know, like it was, which I guess that was a subjective decision, but it was definitely way more objective.
Yep.
That's the route they were going, was more objective.
It says here that, which again, I think this is a benefit though. It's important to note that achieving complete objectivity is a difficult task since everyone is informed by their backgrounds and experiences. While people in these disciplines should strive for objectivity, they should also consider how their experiences may affect their product and work product without including subjectivity. For example, members of a jury are instructed to analyze a case objectively and base their conclusions only on the facts presented. However, the court system can't avoid the fact that jury members are human beings, and every human being brings their own experience and bias to a situation. That's why courts have a jury selection process that attempts to eliminate jurors whose personal experiences may cloud their judgment. So, you know what's funny is, and I see almost everywhere that people say our legal system is objective. I hope I'm not the only one who feels this, but I think our legal system, our justice system, is so subjective, dude. It is based, it favors people who have money. It favors lawyers who are great at grandstanding and have the training to be salespeople. Like, our justice system is the definition of subjectivity. It is the opposite of objective. If it was objective, we would allow all facts, not facts just highlighting a defendant. That is subjective, not objective.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, is it just that we're trying to sell this social perception of our legal system being so fair and just, it's the most objective thing ever, when it's not? Weird, right?
Yeah.
It's super, super strange. And some benefits on subjective perspectives, on the other hand, play a vital role in like art, literature, therapy, theory creation, what direction to take an investigation, where to look for the next evidence, and how much evidence is important. Right? Those are big deals, like really, really, really big deals. Mm-hmm. How a theory could be perceived as valuable. There's a reason I have at times the presence of subjectivity in research is seen as a problem for achieving this is that. Okay, so this is an expert who, he's a scientist, right? And he did he did an experiment around subjectivity, and he found that it's literally impossible, it's literally impossible to have objectivity without subjectivity. And this is one of his excerpts that he has. So, at times, the presence of subjectivity in research is seen as a problem for achieving objectivity in research. For some researchers, whether quantitative or qualitative, their goal is to remove subjectivity as it is seen to color the researcher's views and analysis of what is being researched. However, I argue this cannot be fully achieved, as our subjectivity influences how we interact with the research and study and world around us. Crazy, right? Mm-hmm. So let's dig into the logical fallacies of complete objectivity. Right? So What's funny is these are a lot of my flaws when I'm looking at things. So,
all right, let's hear all about your flaws. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Common logical fallacies. 1, faulty cause. So someone that's hyper objective, or logical, assumes that because one thing follows another, the second thing was definitively caused by the first, also known as post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. Example, Sean broke his mother's mirror, and sure enough, he was in a car wreck the next week. And in crime, that isn't always the case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, if you're to say the front door and the back door were left open, Brian opened the front door, therefore he left open the back door, leaving.
It may not be it. Or there was a fight that night, and then later they were murdered. It had to be
The fight.
And it could not be.
Yep.
It could not be at all.
Yeah. 2, sweeping generalization. So assuming that what is true in most cases must be true in all cases. An example is, we can't hire this candidate because he is an ex-felon. And studies show that most ex-felons experience relapses. Yeah, that's a total flaw of mine.
Generalizations?
Sweeping generalizations. So, like, in the past, this happened multiple times, therefore it's always going to happen going forward.
Oh, yeah, that's you 100%.
For sure. Hasty generalizations. Assumes that a small piece of information is soundly representative of the whole situation. Example is, I don't like Thai food. The food I tried at this one Thai restaurant was just terrible, and I was sick for days.
Oh, that's literally something you said to me one of the first time I met you.
Duh.
Is that you don't like Thai food.
Yeah,
and then I made you eat Thai food, and you were obsessed with it and ate it like every day for like months.
Yeah, duh. I'm very aware of my flaws. I know these are me. I know. I'll be the first one to tell you. Faulty analogy, and this is a really important one. So, assumes that if two things are alike in some ways, they must be alike in all ways. Now, this is totally me. However, I think that statistically, they are more alike in all ways than they're different in some ways. Because I've thought about this before. I've known this was a flaw, and I think these things through, but I think the majority of the time, the rest of something is the same. So I'm always going to make that decision because statistically, I'm more likely to be right. So, but
yeah.
Who knows?
No, I agree with that.
Crime doesn't work like that. And that's one of the downfalls when we're looking in investigations.
People just don't work like that a lot of times.
Yeah. Faulty sign. Assumes that one event is a reliable predictor of another.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, that would be because Brian Kohberger because Brian Kohberger drove past the house 4 times, then he is the one that went in the house and did this crime. That's an uncommon thing to see. Therefore, he must be the one that committed the crime. Mm-hmm. Tautology defines an argument in a manner that makes it impossible to disprove.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are a disagreeable person, and if you disagree with me, it will just prove even more how disagreeable you are. So
that's just gaslighting, though. That's not a good example. That's the example they gave?
That is not gaslighting. That's not what the definition of gaslighting is. I know people try and say that's gaslighting, but that's not gaslighting. Gaslighting has intent, okay? You can't call someone... You can't say someone's gaslighting you unless their intention is to gaslighting you. It's literally built into the definition of gaslighting.
Okay.
So.
But I feel like that is intentional.
No. That's somebody creating their own hypothesis of the situation while arguing their point to you. That's why I relate to it. Yeah. Appeal to authority justifies an argument by citing a famous or popular person who supports the argument. I don't really do that, but... slippery slope assumes that a particular step invariably leads to a similar step, culminating in a negative outcome. Red herring attempts to divert attention away from the real issue. Appeal to ignorance uses a person's inability to disprove a claim as proof that the claim is right. Yeah, I don't really do those last three personally, but I'm curious if you guys think you do, because we have a lot of people. There's a lot of people who leave comments in our comments section that I can tell they are super objective, because like everything they say, I'm like, yes, that is so good. You know what I mean? Like they're literally thinking identical to how I think, and I love it. I love those comments.
Of course you do.
So, but the thing is I truly believe that people want to progress, right? And I'm not, it's not important to me that I'm prove I'm right. I really don't care if I'm right. What matters is if I'm expanding my knowledge. That's like obsession number one, is I need to expand my knowledge. And in order to do that, it's important when we're investigating crimes and cases and details that we're able to find flaws to make ourselves more successful while doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all that adds to, like, they have examples of compelling evidence, testimony, statistics, examples of such. It goes into talking about, like, how you can have emotional mastery while being objective. I mean, I think it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Emotional mastery while being objective.
Yeah, because people that are like hyper logical or overly objective are usually like a good example is yin and yang. Okay, so if you're really heavy in black and black is objectivity, then you're going to be light and white is subjectivity. So you need to work to try and cater to both while staying strong in one.
Oh, you mean like being more balance, like I said.
No, I don't mean that.
Yin and yang is balance.
I understand. Okay, bad example. But you need to, I say yin and yang not in the definition of being balanced,
okay,
but being able to realize your strengths, knowing that these strengths have an equal and opposite reaction on the other side, causing weaknesses. So you just have to cater to and set a plan to not allow those weaknesses to hold you back.
Yeah, but that brings it more to balance. Like, for instance, you know, gosh, this is like kind of gonna sound like a dumb example, but for instance, in beauty and hair and makeup, the ideal face shape is an oval, okay? A perfect oval. So a lot of makeup artists and hair artists or whatever, hairdressers will, whatever hairstyle looks best on you is whatever makes your face look the most oval. Whatever makeup, contouring, whatever looks best on you is whatever brings your face back to that balance. So, yes, I feel like we're arguing the same point here. You just don't like me saying it the way I'm saying it. Because you don't feel like it's I don't know, the way you're saying it is almost more positive. Like, look, this is not abnormal. These are just your strengths, and you just need to pick up the weaknesses and you know, But it's really just bringing it more to a balance, even if you're never going to be perfectly balanced.
No, I'm just thinking more detailed. So, like, when you say balance, I'm assuming that what you're talking about is, like, in order to have more balance, you have to decrease one to raise the other. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about leaving your strengths where they are, because more than likely it's an inherent trait that has been built around, you know, trauma, life experiences, like all the things that happen in our lives, but being able to understand that where your weaknesses are around subjectivity or objectivity. There are people out there going to be strong in others and you know, different. Being able to have a plan to cater to that. Like, a good example is, like, I know we chose to do this show together, but let's say I just created Thought Riot Podcast, okay? But during creation, I was like, I'm not going to be able to relate to people, so I need somebody that is relatable to people. So I go and, you know what I mean? Do you get where I'm going with that?
Yeah, yeah. But it brings balance to the show.
I get what you're saying.
So
I understand that.
It's not taking the eggs out of this basket and putting them in the other to balance it out. It's just adding more to this side without taking any out of the other side is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Just creating a plan to have those flaws covered, not adding to them, because you're not going to be able to do that. You are not going to be able to add to your flaws from yourself without taking from your strengths. That just doesn't happen.
What?
Absolutely not.
So you're saying your strengths are going to be weakened by trying to
strengthen your weaknesses? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I believe. I do. Because I believe that...
That's very subjective, I feel like. That's an opinion.
Yeah, it is an opinion. Yep. But I think that's how it is. Otherwise, you would have people out there in the world that are just great at everything. We don't see that with anybody, ever. All people have equal amount of strengths and weaknesses. But let me know what you guys think.
So to be truly great, don't work on any of your flaws.
Yeah.
Or weaknesses.
Yeah. Build plans to not allow them to cause issues. Yeah. For sure.
Interesting. I learned something.
But let me know what you think.
The case of Karlie Gousset. She was a 16-year-old teenager who went missing October 13th, 2018 from Chalfant Valley, California. Am I saying that right? Chalfant? Do you know? You never heard of that place?
Nope.
It's about 30 miles south of the Nevada state line. So, that day, she had went
Chalfant?
Chalfant?
I'm pretty sure. I'm probably saying it wrong, but that looks like Chalfant to me.
That's not how they spelled it. They spelled it Chalfant. Chalfant kind of sound. It's kind of. I think you might be right though. Anyway, so October 12th, actually, the day before, she called her stepmother, Melissa Gousset, because her parents were divorced, and she stayed with her father and her stepmother, and they had 2 younger children, which were her, what is it called? Like half brothers.
Okay.
That were much
step brothers or something.
Not step. They're half because
just one parent.
They
different.
share one father.
Okay.
Yeah, but the mother is different. So she lives with them, and the brothers are much younger, and she calls her stepmother and says, "Hey, I want to stay after school and go to like a friend's house and catch the football game tonight."
Okay.
And they're like, "Yeah, sure, of course, yes, you can go to the football game." Well, she goes with her boyfriend Donald to a house party, which is more like like a kickback, like a hangout, like just some people chilling and smoking.
Okay.
Smoking marijuana.
Smoke 2 joints in the morning.
So yeah, they apparently, Karlie had been dabbling and smoking it in the past, and her grades had went down, and she was in some kind of alternative school for a little bit and had to complete a little bit of that alternative school to get back on track to go back to regular high school. And she had already had a little bit of issues, but overall seemed like she was a really good girl for the most, like, that was really the only issue she had had. But other than that, she was really responsible. She was on time for home normally. You know, she communicated well with her parents, asked for permission, was respectful. Like, you know, in all other aspects, she seemed like a really good kid. Well, they're smoking, and she suddenly starts having basically a panic attack. And I know what this feels like. Let me freaking tell you. It is terrifying when you start feeling that way. But she starts, it almost becomes like hallucinations, which I have had hallucinations. This is at a whole nother level though. So she gets scared of the music, and she gets scared of her own boyfriend. And he ends up saying, okay, I think I need to get her out of here. She's freaking out. So he takes her back to his house. They're in the, you know, they get out of the car, they're in the street, and he tries to pull her in close, and she pushes him away and is like, get away from me, and just takes off booking it down the street. Jeez. And gets on the phone with her stepmother, Melissa, and Melissa had actually called her earlier that night and said, are you going to need a ride home? And she was like, no, I'm good, I'm fine. And they never even made it to the football game. But then a little bit later, she's calling her stepmother, like, panicking, saying, hey, come get me right now. Right now. Freaking out.
That's so strange.
Yeah, so the stepmother comes and picks her up. Apparently she had been out at like a trunk or treat or some kind of event with Karlie's younger brothers and had just pulled in the driveway at home and dropped them off, and gets the call from Karlie. So she turns around and she goes and picks up Karlie. And when she picks her up, apparently Karlie is acting insane in the car. And, you know, she's like, what is going on with you? You know, like, what happened? You know, what did you do? And she swore she just smoked pot. Like, that was it. So then they go home. She's trying to get her to, like, get something to eat. She gives her a salad, and Karlie goes to take a bite and pushes it away and is like, this is the devil's lettuce. And at some point, like, starts saying, you're trying to kill me. You know, asks her, like, if she would call 911, and she never does call 911. And eventually she gets her, like, calmed down and in bed, and here's where it gets weird, okay? Because there's 2 versions of events, and I don't know which one is real. So the first story I heard of this is that Melissa, the stepmother, was close enough with Karlie that she literally went and laid with her in bed to keep her calm. Okay. And her father had been, like, apparently drinking that night and stuff, and he was in their bedroom, but the stepmother and Karlie went to bed in Karlie's bedroom, and she woke up a few times during the night and saw Karlie with her eyes wide open at some point, like she was sleeping but with her eyes open, and it's weird, I don't know. But then another version of events that the same stepmother tells, she's told both of these stories that are inconsistent from her own mouth. Sure. That she went to bed in her bedroom with her husband, and that she came and checked on Karlie early in the morning like she normally does when she wakes him up for school, but it was not a school day. It was the weekend that day. And she saw Karlie with her eyes wide open, and then went back to bed and got back up a little bit later, and Karlie was gone. So the stepmother has told multiple versions of events, and I don't know which one is real. I forgot to mention, there's a recorded part that night where Melissa was recording Karlie when she was freaking out in the devil's lettuce and like stuff, and she said something about her. She felt like she really messed up that night, and that's Karlie's biological mother said that's when she was asking to call 911, but we can't hear this audio. Like, it's not public information, so I have no way to verify any of the things that were said in it. Anyway, I don't know, like I said, which version of events is true. All I know is that Melissa, for whatever reason, the stepmother, was overseeing Karlie's care that night, and they didn't take her to a hospital and didn't do anything, and they thought, well, it's just pot, it'll wear off. And then in the morning, Karlie was gone. Just gone. Vanished. So they she left her cell phone on the kitchen counter, like literally left everything, like only left with the clothes on her back and was gone. So they started frantically searching the neighborhood. A neighbor said that they saw someone fitting Karlie's description walking that morning on the street with a piece of paper in their hand, wearing sweatpants. A tall, slender woman with long hair walking by holding a piece of paper in her hand, and this woman apparently was wearing sweatpants. Karlie's mother gave a description of Karlie saying that which the piece of paper is weird, but she said she was wearing skinny jeans and a t-shirt, but can't name the color. Don't know why she said that's what she was wearing. There's a Nancy Grace interview where Nancy's trying, and Nancy's very abrasive, okay? She's downright awful in some situations, but she was getting, I could tell, like, she was trying to pry the information out of it. I'm trying to understand what she was wearing when she left, because that's important when you're looking for a missing person, is knowing what they were wearing. And she, like, every question that Nancy asked about the clothes, she's like, well, Karlie has a lot of clothes, so I can't just tell which pair's missing.
Yeah.
And come to find out, Karlie didn't even wear sweatpants. Like, she didn't own a pair of sweatpants.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I don't know. It is
weird, but at the same time, the person who saw her could be mistaken, too.
They could be.
There could be mistakes on both sides here.
But the parents their story is contradicted multiple times in multiple areas. And it's like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
The stepmother's explanation at one point was that, well, the cops told me not to give certain details away in the investigation, so I just lied and made up a separate story on Dr. Phil. Because they had a Dr. Phil special. I just told a totally different story because of the cops. But that doesn't make any sense, because this is not a murder investigation. This is a missing person. These details are important for people to be able to help you find them.
Yeah.
When there's a missing person, you want everyone in the public to have the most accurate information possible to find that person.
You're right. The cops, I was automatically assuming this was...
I do not think the cops would tell her, don't tell them exactly how she went missing and what she was wearing.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yep.
No way, no how. That doesn't happen in missing persons normally.
Yeah.
Look at Karlie, not Karlie, Karlie from...
Russell.
Karlie Russell. We had all the details off the bat on how to find her.
Yeah, everything.
And that was a freaking hoax. We had everything. A child, what she was wearing, her car, like, all the details right off the bat. Anyway... There were 3 eyewitnesses that had seen someone fitting Karlie's description, though, that morning. The trail apparently ends at a bush that it looked like she was looking up around at the sky, holding that piece of paper, and walked in the direction of Highway 6. The eyewitnesses seem like they really feel like it was Karlie. And the last witness of seeing her, and the last place that dogs tracked her scent was in the sagebrush near Highway 6. That's where the trail ends for Karlie. Which is interesting. Does that mean she got picked up by a car?
Yeah. I mean, that would be my automatic assumption. Is what, hitchhiked, were acting crazy, some psychopath that a lot of serial dudes or people to be worried about are like truck drivers or the types of jobs that cause them to be on the road. Yep, transient. And she was seen as an opportunity. I don't know.
Well, especially if she looked out of her mind, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So... As soon as the parents are alerted and they're doing, like, the cops are on it, they start combing the desert because Karlie's neighborhood, and you'll have the picture of it here on screen, is literally just like a little subdivision in the middle of a vast desert. Is what it looks like. And they were very concerned. Like, there's rough terrain here. We have coyotes, like the elements, predators. Like, this is not a good situation for a young girl who's not in her proper state of mind to be in, especially when it turns night because it's going to get really cold out here. Yep. So they were desperately searching. They couldn't find anything. And honestly, still haven't found that much till today, like, until now. Like, even now, like, they haven't found much. And right away, her stepmother got on Facebook Lives telling people what was going on, giving the information out there, and immediately the public that was watching this had questions about her and felt like something was off about the stepmother. Right away, from the get-go.
I'm not surprised.
And there is something a little weird there, I'm not going to lie.
Is there?
Yeah. And I think in editing you should post a little clip of her talking from that Facebook Live. Because there's something off. It's, like, kind of weird. It's kind of weird. I don't know if it's just chalked up to personality and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it could be nothing.
You can never know, for
I have a hard time pointing right at them right away, but let's be honest, the statistics of children that go missing or are harmed, most of the time it's by a family member.
It is.
Most of the time.
Sure is.
And this stepmother is the only one, the single person who was taking care of her. And looking over her and looking after her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the dad seemed like he was drinking and wasn't really involved. Well, since all of this, and, they've done specials, they've done Dr. Phil, Nancy Grace, and stuff, and like I said, there was contradicting stories. There have been a couple updates, and that is a guy came forward saying that he knew what happened to Karlie and that she got picked up on the side of the highway and went to some party in, I think it was Arizona, and something happened to her that night, and it was weighing on his chest and he needed to fess up, basically. But I haven't heard anything more from that. I don't know what is up with that.
Whoa.
And we have Dr. Arpad Voss and Paul Dosty, who are using some kind of new technology and simultaneously with the scent of dogs, and they did locate something in the desert around that area that they think, and they found some remains, and it could be a lead. We don't know. I don't think it's known yet. But it is super, super interesting, and I honestly think that this might be an interesting, like, expert topic, as you put it, on new tech and finding missing people, because it is pretty interesting. But
yeah,
I don't know if that's going anywhere. So I wanted to give, like, a little description of it, but here, Okay, so Voss is the brains behind the patented quantum oscillator. He describes the handheld instrument as it isolates, amplifies the natural vibrational frequency of virtually any object or material. The frequency is directed outward into the environment using a directional antenna. When it encounters an object with similar frequency, it excites the molecules in the object in a manner similar to how a pulse laser can excite objects. The artificially excited molecules then begin vibrating at a slightly higher state and slightly higher frequency. And basically that frequency gets picked up by the receiving antenna, and they can locate things and people.
Yeah.
It's really, really crazy. And there's some things about, like, animal droppings and stuff in here. And I think what they're looking at here is if she died in the desert, then animals will have eaten her remains. And you have to look at, like, you can look at animal droppings. And essentially they can look at tiny, like, microscopic pieces.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I don't know where this is going. I don't know. He believes he knows exactly what happened to her. He claims he does, and that he thinks that she died in the desert, and that she's no longer here. But yeah, that's pretty much the only updates. I mean, the case isn't solved, so clearly he didn't find enough to solve the case yet.
Yeah, jeez. That is crazy. I want to know more on that tech.
Yeah, but I also want to know what happened. Did she get drugged? Was the weed laced? Because all of the boys interviewed, all the friends interviewed from that party, none of them had that happen. Not a single one. And they were all smoking it. So did somebody drug her, or did she have one of those mental health conditions that were triggered by pot and experienced psychosis?
Yeah, there's no real way to know. It's really unfortunate. This whole situation sucks, man. I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know. Because if I'm guessing to passed in the desert.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Dude, deserts are extreme, man. That's where we'd go riding, and, like, it would be, like, 100 degrees in the day and below freezing at night. Like, so extreme.
It is very extreme. It is.
Super blazing hot and super cold, you know?
So, the only thing that makes me doubt the passing in the desert by her home is that they had search parties out there. Like, how far did she get?
Search parties go slow, though. I don't know.
Yeah, but they would have found a body, no?
I mean, the wind blows in deserts because it's flat and open. Could she have gone down and then sand covered her? There's a million possibilities. People go missing all the time in the desert.
I almost wonder if there's not more validity to her getting picked up on the side of the highway. That's where her trail ended, and that seems highly suspect for the scent trail to end right at a highway where you could get picked up.
But her scent trail didn't end on the highway. It ended right before it.
At a bush.
Yeah. Well, don't you think it would have made it up to where you would have got into a car?
I don't know.
But
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I want to know what you guys think. I only wanted to touch on that tech. I didn't want to go deep into it, so I didn't look that far into it, because I feel like it is literally a whole episode in itself, because it's really in-depth and it's kind of hard to understand just skimming it. So I feel like I would have to really sit down and dig into it, but it's super, super interesting from what I've seen. If you guys want to hear more about that tech and what he thinks happened to Karlie, definitely let me know and I'll follow up on it. But I want to know your theories on what could have happened to Karlie that night. I think the possibilities of her being drugged or experiencing psychosis are both pretty equally high, in my opinion. Like, now the psychosis from pot would be more rare. than being drugged. It would be, statistically. But I still see it as it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Especially with my experiences with that. Like, it made me pretty crazy at some points.
Yeah,
but it wasn't
definitely a possibility.
It went away, though. That's the thing. But anyway, let me know what you think.
Yeah, let us know.